Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Mr. A. Welcome to the set. Tonight, I sent out an open invitation to everyone who follows the show just to talk about what's going on, what we're seeing in the country, and this election that we're going through or going to have tonight, and the effects, and just random topics about, what's been going on. People riding around in trucks, holding up traffic, acting all sorts of a fool. People have been at each other's necks for the last, I don't know how, 4 years. When we got hit with this pandemic that we've been going through. And I just wanted to get everybody on tonight in this moment and sort of bring everybody's temperatures down, if you would. The social temperature of the country is just at a fever pitch. And I think it would be helpful just to have a conversation with everybody. And people who wanted to join the show. I mean, if people are on tonight and you still want to get on live and join me and have a conversation and just express what you're seeing, your opinion, no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, and just speak to each other to have some sort of decency and express your opinions about how you feel, your beliefs, what you see, and where you think this country is headed. I think that for the last, I don't know, couple of years, everybody has been on this note of fear, and I've had quite a few conversations already with people, and just try to reinforce to them that you cannot keep projecting this fear. You can't walk around living your life in fear, especially when it comes to dealing with this government. So tonight, I just wanted to have the conversation and just discuss, everything that's going on and how we should be carrying ourselves in the country. So we're going to start the show. Some people are going to come on. I'm going to have some guests come on when they join. I'll enter them into the room. I could already see Mr. Tylen. He's sitting in the queue. So I'm going to be bringing people on, and we're just going to, have an open dialogue. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to start the show. And as I said, I'll bring guests on randomly, and we're just going to talk. All right, here we go. What's going on, everybody? As you know, I'm your host, Mr. A, and this is the set. Tonight, we are going to discuss what's going on in the country with this election, the temperament of the people, and everything else in between. Salute to my guy, Killer Cal. I see you, brother. I hope you're well. Salute to Mr. Merrill Davis. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody who's watching the show, questions, anything you want to hear spoken about, and if you care to join, you can hit me in the DM, and I'll send you a link for you to come on and join the show. And this is an open platform. This is about the people, so I really don't care if you're a liberal or conservative, whatever it is, whatever political stripe you carry, it doesn't matter. This is about dialogue and people being able to speak to each other. So it matters none. This is about you and your opinions and your perspective. As I said, I have invited quite a few people. Some people decided to back out last minute. Others chose to come on. So I'm gonna have, I believe at this point, I have one or two guests sitting in the queue, and I'm gonna be bringing them on shortly. I just want more people to get in the room, and we'll have the discussion. I just want to tell everybody, as I was saying before we started the show, this thing about having fear, we have to let that go. People need to start letting that go because those days are over. Okay? People, we're in a different time. We're in a different time, and walking around projecting fear or speaking to fear and bringing that energy out, that's a negative. That's definitely a negative. As you can see, the gentlemen that are already joining in the chat, salute Mr. Brad McCoy. I see you. I will be engaging this gentleman as well, hopefully in the very near future. He has a great story. So I'm glad that you could join us tonight, brother. Everybody in the room, speak your mind. I will be speaking to you guys, and we're gonna chop it up, and I want to make sure that we set the tone on how we're gonna be going forward. Don't mind me because I'm doing my own engineering. My partner, I'm hoping, just so you know, everybody's been following the show regularly. My partner has been on the road on a project, so I've been shooting the show at home, and it's difficult to host and be the engineer of your show because you have to chat, you have to interact with people, and you have to be at the control board, so to speak. So if I seem distracted or if I'm looking away or whatever, just understand that this is a one-man show right now. Salute to my partner, Mr. Peter Caballero and Rebel X Sound Studios. I hope everything's going well with you, brother. And I hope that we're going to have our first in studio after this month, this long month that you've been on the road pretty soon. Just a few announcements. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, November 4th at 7:30 p.m., we continue with the tributes to the people from the neighborhood from whence we came, Sunset Park. You all know the show is named after where we all come from, Sunset Park. We're gonna have singer and actress Jeannie Soul coming to the set. She's gonna tell her story, her journey, and we're gonna reflect on what Sunset Park was like back in the day. So there's gonna be some real good stories. I hope everybody could join us tomorrow night. And then Sunday, artist and rapper James Squatch Joyce, Brooklyn native, Connecticut transplant. If you haven't checked this brother out, I posted one of his videos on the page. I would implore you, if you're a lover of music, a lover of hip hop, go check it out. James is a very talented artist, and I'm looking forward to the conversation with him. Excuse me. The reason why I'm having him on the show is because hip hop needs an injection of creativity. We have a very lopsided sort of feel to hip hop. Thank God Busta Rhymes just dropped that fire album. It's definitely a throwback to the golden era of hip hop in the 90s, and I could really appreciate it. But James is an artist that is super, super creative. I like his approach. He has a great flow. He's lyrical, and I appreciate that. And it really doesn't matter what your content is about, as long as you're lyrical and your cadences are there and the creativity is there. So I really appreciate him. So again, Sunday, November 8th at 7:30 p.m., artist James Squatch Joyce. I hope everybody could be there. And then the following Sunday, November 15th at 7:30 p.m., let's talk about cannabis with Chef Swan and Marcus Alfinez. Chef Swan is the host of a show called High End Cooking on YouTube. Right now, it's been on hiatus for some time because Swan has taken on other projects. There is a lot of footage still left in the chamber, and once he, comes out of his work, he will commence again. But if you haven't seen the show, go check it out on YouTube. It's called High End Cooking, and it's a great show. Great show. So we're going to talk to Chef Swan, and then we're also going to speak to Mark Alfinez. Mark Alfinez is a retired military vet. He entered the cannabis business on the corporate side, highly educated and knowledgeable in the field, and we're going to try to bring the two together. So we want to share this information with everybody who follows the show. You're going to learn about what it is like to cook with cannabis, and then you're going to learn the medicinal uses of cannabis. And I'm sure everybody is going to really like that. So I hope everybody can make that. Um, yeah. So tonight we are wait, Mr. Merrill Davis Nabro, and this time we cannot discount content. You damn right we can't. We definitely cannot. Tonight we are gonna have an open dialogue, and we're just gonna talk about everything that's been going on and what we think is going to come to the country. So post your questions. Again, if anybody wants to join the live, hit me up in the private in the DM. I'll send you the link. You can come on here, even if it's for 5 minutes, just to tell the show and everybody watching how you feel, what you think, your opinion, so on and so forth. You're more than welcome to do so. Merrill, that's a great question. And it's something that I'm going to speak to when I have these gentlemen on the show. It says, I need to know how to become a small silent partner of someone starting a dispensary. What I find interesting about this is, cannabis has been demonized for years and years and years. We all know that. And the people who suffer from being incarcerated behind cannabis are people that look like us. With that being said, why aren't we the ones being given first swing at starting up dispensaries? And the political hypocrites who make the laws that have put us in jail behind cannabis, a lot of them have gotten into it financially, and they're becoming rich. They're becoming more wealthy behind it. The hypocrisy is far-reaching, people, for real. You need to recognize that. And I will say this: the day that cannabis becomes legal nationally, the national debt is a dub, because the reality is everybody smokes weed, right? So I think places like Detroit, with all those closed down factories, somebody can go in there and refinish those things and bring those old factories up to speed and make them grow houses and distribute nationally from Detroit. I mean, that would change a lot. So, and yes, the licenses start in the millions of dollars, and that's for a reason. So we all know why. So I'm going to bring on my first guest. I hope he's ready. I'm sure he's watching the show. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll start the conversation, because I see he's the first one in the queue. So let me just bring him in here. Good evening.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so
I'm
much
good.
for having me.
No, of course, of course. Please introduce yourself, because we didn't get to have a preamble. So just
Okay.
introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Well, just in the interest of time, my name is Tylon Xavier Washington. I'm a filmmaker, I'm an activist, I'm a mentor and an entrepreneur. I also have a media company. It's called GoPro Radio. It's one of the fastest growing networks. And also have a film company called Iron Metropolis Films. And we're working on documentary films as well as feature-length films.
Is there something that you guys are presently working on that's going to be released in the near future?
Yes. One I really can't talk about. There's
Okay,
NDAs
okay.
on that. It's a documentary. We're going in prison and talking to some folks who are wrongfully convicted. Because I know there's the Exonerated Project, but
Yes.
there's so many of our brothers and sisters who are languishing in prison who are absolutely innocent. And, your freedom is really dependent on how much money you have and how much resources that you have. And it's a shame that so many of them are denied due process. And so we're actually going to do something around that. And then also, it's going to be an interesting narrative that we're doing as well. It's a sci-fi, dystopian, very dark film. It's called Wicked in This Land, which stars Zaria Simmons.
Nice.
Oh, we also
Well,
have Melvin Van Peebles in it, which that's really awesome. His
the
last
legend.
performance, the legend Melvin, his last feature performance.
Wow.
He's in.
Listen, people, if you're just joining the show, I just want to make sure I pronounce this right. Mr. Tylon Xavier
Man,
Washington.
you got it. You're dope. You're dope.
Awesome. Awesome. Just joined us. As you heard, he is an independent filmmaker. The one subject matter that you brought up about people being wrongfully convicted, people understand that resources are the most important thing to our communities. And it's no surprise, and I'm glad I asked him this question, because it brings up a solid subject. it's no surprise that we suffer from no access, right? Our community is denied resources, and that is by design. And if you don't understand that by now in 2020, I suggest you younger brothers, if you haven't been, reading and really paying attention to what's going on, or even looking at history, you guys really need to get on the ball, because this is part of the big picture, and it's part of the problem, a huge part of the problem. So, Mr. Can I call you Mr. Tylon or just Tylon?
Tyline. Just don't call me Larry.
Okay. So I also want to bring up the Van Peebles point. That gentleman is a legend, and I don't know if many younger people would understand the effect of him
Right.
being in the business. Can you speak to that just a little bit, just to inform the audience?
Oh, absolutely. Because Melvin was not just an actor I hired. I was a mentor of Melvin's for over 7 years. In fact, I worked on his last feature film, which was called Confessions of an Ex-Doofus Itchy-Footed Mother. See if you can say that 3 times real quick.
Wow.
Yeah, Confessions of an Ex-Doofus Itchy-Footed Mother. And this is where I actually learned hands-on, I'm sorry, how to actually shoot, work with a variety of different talents, and really think in terms of being a guerrilla filmmaker, and just looking at how we could take advantage of certain opportunities that exist in real time.
Yes, sir.
Especially when you're dealing with limited resources. I could not have had. I mean, he's the consummate filmmaker. He's the quintessential revolutionary filmmaker. As a matter of fact, some people would consider him the father of blaxploitation, although he doesn't like that in terms of like being the title and the labeling, because he actually just did movies that hired a lot of black talent, not only in front of the camera but also behind the scenes. I mean, there would not be Earth, Wind, and Fire. There would not be so many careers. Of course, his son is still an incredible filmmaker, and actor. And when he did what he did, it was so revolutionary, because most of the people don't know, like in the 70s, at the time that he started, there were no real independent films. The major corporations, MGM and so forth, they had this on lock. So him, along with the Black Panther Party and some other folks, saw too that Behinds was in those seats when the film opened, and it was a huge success. So much so that they went back and rewrote Shaft and recasted Shaft for Richard Roundtree.
Really?
Yeah, Shaft was originally written for I forget the white actor's name, but they scrambled and said, "Wait a minute, we're onto something here," and it was because of the success of "Sweet Sweet Badass Song," Melvin's feature film, controversial feature film, I should add. It got an X rating, and still the community came out and supported that film. So it was like, the community supporting Black arts, at that time, that really pushed it over to the $1 million mark. And so back then in the 70s, independent films making millions of dollars was unheard of.
People, if you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Mr. A. This is the set. Mr. Washington was just expounding on an enormous and a tremendous figure in the filmmaking industry, Mr. Van Peebles. Mm-hmm. And there's a point that he alluded to that is very telling. He just stated that Shaft was written originally with a leading white character. Mm-hmm. Now, once Mr. Van Peebles' brainchild gave birth and was hitting the market, they realized that there was money in the black community. I'll just say it, roundly so. And what did they do? They changed up and they casted Shaft as a black man, Richard Roundtree. So if you're hearing what I'm saying, what I'm telling you is that this play and this game has been going on like this forever. Because when it comes to money, money talks. And once that they saw there was money there, they changed up. Besides that, prior to his entry into filmmaking, and again, this was done independently, there wasn't any of that happening. we were relegated to small roles
Right.
and identity roles where we played maids
Hmm.
or chauffeurs and things of that nature.
Hmm.
So this man, his work was not only groundbreaking, but it. Sorry about that. Miss Chavis is calling me.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Well, I'll keep it going. Well, his
please.
work actually
Yes, ma'am.
provided opportunities for so many others. I mean, we would not have the huge Tyler Perry studio. There would not have been, the Spike Lees in the world, because of the work of this man. We really stand on the shoulders of his commitment and dedication to independent filmmaking, and his commitment to his community. So he, it's just more than a legend. If someone could be placed in that category, I would place singularly Melvin Van Peebles in that space.
You have to appreciate and also aside from that, when you said him, he was the person who broke Earth, Wind, and Fire. So
Yeah, well,
without him, you know, he was the one that brought them to the forefront.
absolutely, absolutely, and so many others. So many, like I said, even fast forward to today, a lot of people may not understand this, and they may not be able to connect the dots, and that's why your show is so important. That people may not have this information that the huge studios and some of the careers that a lot of black folks are enjoying is because of the groundbreaking work that Melvin Van Peebles did.
Man, it's amazing to me how to this day people do not realize the importance of going against the grain. And not only that, more importantly, you have to support each other. You know,
Absolutely.
you can't do anything without the support of your people. And in this moment, especially, you know, we have to start. Well, we don't have to start. I mean, I'm a gentleman of a certain age. I'm sure you are as well. We've seen the changes and we've seen the grittiness of this country, right? So
Absolutely.
we have a different understanding and see things differently in a way that people who haven't been paying attention or don't care to understand it. So when we see things unfold, our assessment and our perspectives always glean something else from what's happening,
Hmm.
something that might clearly go over other people's heads, which
Absolutely.
is in this day and age of information, still, it boggles my mind.
Well, that's why I think your form is so important. I'm grateful to you having a show, and then having your insight, your information, your intelligence, your wherewithal, and applying it in this way. I mean, I'm quite sure you could have one of those cookie cutter silly shows. I think, however, you're committed to the advancement and uplifting and this exchange of ideas and information, that you just don't see on what I call fake stream media. It just doesn't exist. So I'm grateful for you and grateful to be here, and I'm grateful also to be supporting you and folks like you who have shows and feel like why am I doing this, and this is tough and it's difficult. Like you said that I totally get it when you're like in the studio. You basically have to be an engineer. You got to cue. You got to answer people, and it's like you're the bartender, the sheriff, the judge. You're running the whole town, right? And but because you're driven by the passion of communicating to people the truth in the face of this avalanche of mind poison that's incessant and coming from just about everywhere you look. And turn on television. And now television, in the internet, it's all of this, misinformation and distractions, that kind of keeps us, I think, just off balance. Yeah.
I think it's super important. We just came off of having our second educators show, so what those two installments were about bringing educators with lengths of experience and having a discussion about what they have seen in the past and what they're seeing now and what they think is the best way forward.
Mm,
And something that we always got back to was race, and
mm,
it's telling because these people understood and were honest enough, and I was very appreciative and thankful that they were that they understand and they see how the system plays against us, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it speaks volumes when in 2020 this is still happening, and
Yeah,
people are in denial.
yeah. I would say, in fact, it's worse because we have this illusion of inclusion. I think it's worse because it's this idea that, we're an integrated society. You can't help but to talk to people and they say our country, our war, our police. I'm like, ow, I get confused. I'm like, what do you mean? We have a country, we have a police. America has always been hell on earth for people of color, for Black people. And, in, the film I'm doing in prison is definitely even worse, for people who are in conditions that are just degrading and dehumanizing and disgusting at every moment. People are regimenting your life. And so uh, this whole idea with the music and the media, that's just distraction. It's like we're in this open air cell and we have certain levels of comfort that distracts from the I think the push and the inertia that ought to be created to get free. And we're not. We're having a very dysfunctional relationship with this country. It's almost psychotic, and it's unfortunate, that we really feel like we have a stake in what's happening. Even that this is a. I don't want to predate your show. I don't know when you're going to actually release it, but
Oh no, this is live. This is being
oh,
released
okay.
as we speak.
Well, it's election day. It's
Right?
no secret that it's
Yes.
election day, and how they're rolling out this woman who's like 100, and I think she was like 108, and now you just got to vote, um, and it's kinds of it makes me a little sad that you know the choices that we have and this idea of democracy when you have right wing and what I call left right wing. I mean, there is no real voice of for us. I mean, and I'm not surprised. I'm one of the people that's shocked and appalled because I understand that the system was never designed to empower us. But what I'm kind of frustrated with is that why aren't we galvanized more? And not reacting to, let's say, the personalities. Like right now, it's Trump, and who knows in 4 years or whatever. So it's someone else. Um, to get on our grind with regard to having something totally our own. It's no shock that the educational system is trash. It's garbage, and educators know this. So people who are in the know in that form, they came on your show and told you that we are in serious trouble when it comes to shaping the minds of, I think, the most vulnerable community, and as our young people, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I think we need to move to a space of more urgency, I would say, and push in media, since that's kind of like our wheelhouse.
Yes, sir.
Also connect that piece with education, so that we can make this mental slavery impossible.
It's amazing to me because and then here is I'm going to continue with my question, but I'm going to bring in the next guest as well, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, the astute, the queen has just entered the room, and I address it as such because this woman stays on the ground and she does not play. And I watch her work and I follow her, and I have an immense amount of respect for what she does. And I want to just bring in Miss Danette Chavis. Miss Danette, I'm glad you made it. Welcome to the
Oh,
show. How are you?
I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So I'm glad you got on. Miss Chavis is no stranger to the difficulties of connectivity when we're having a show. We always go through this, and somehow we always make it through. So I'm glad you just came on. We were having a conversation, and Tylon was just saying that in a roundabout way, education is the key to making change, and not only that, but being proactive in media as well. And we need to somehow come up with a plan to solidify our position across the board and using media as the vehicle because it's the strongest platform right now that we're in, right?
Absolutely.
And what I would say to that is I can't understand at what point did we reach. I grew up, I was born in the 70s. My teen years, of course, were in the 80s. And I remember being on the street, and I'm sure you remember what the the feeling or the vibe was between us all back then. We would say, "Peace, my brother," to each other, right? And the the 5% nation was very prevalent in the community, right? And people were very motivated behind learning and knowledge, especially our phrase was knowledge of self, correct?
That's right. Right.
So
Exactly.
right and exact, show improve, right? So Danette, let me ask you, at what point do you think did we get away from respecting and having admiration for being knowledgeable or being smart, if you would?
Mm. Um, I would put at least some of the blame on the theft of hip hop and converting it, into what was so once social consciousness into gangster rap and things like that. I think that had a great effect on our mentality and thought process and the things that, we began to value.
Right. I agree with that. I think that when I speak to my children, my young adult children now, and I always they give me the all right, Dad, we heard that story type of vibe sometimes. But I've always made it a point that once I understood, my daughter's my firstborn. Once I understood that the innocence of childhood was lifted from her frontal lobe, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
I always told her the truth about the world
Mm-hmm.
because I would tell her, "I'm your father, and if you think I'm being hard on you, I love you. I'll die for you." Them people out there in the world don't give one damn about you. So just imagine the approach that you're gonna receive when you get out there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is today these kids lose their innocence a lot faster because of the media, right? What we walking around with these devices and they have access early. So do we at some point have to sort of take hold of that and demand in some way, shape, or form that all this baby mama syndrome and single parenthood be looked down upon as it was when when we were growing up? And if so, how do we convey that message to our people?
I don't think it's all media.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fair.
I think a lot of it has to do with us,
Okay.
and the image that we project before, the youth or our children. It's like, we say one thing out our mouths or we tell them to do A, B, and C, but when they look, they don't see us doing A, B, and C. I think they see a lot of hypocrisy. They see a lot of, you can't do it, but I can. And we never bother to explain why that is,
Mm,
and I think that they see, reason why they can't do the things that they feel that they ought to be able to do. We don't usually give an explanation or a song or a story. We feel our word is God. You do it because I told you to do it, and that's the end of the discussion. But I don't think we should have dealt with the situation like that. I
mm,
think we should teach our children as we're instructing them on what they can and cannot do, to give them, a understanding, consider how I was when I was a youth,
uh-huh.
and I knew going in that, no matter what you say, there's going to be a lot of situations and circumstances where your child is going to do them straight up,
Mm,
So my job is I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, how it is. So when you make those moves, you didn't do it stupidly because I told you what it was. So I'm telling you in advance, this is this and that is that. If you want to go on a go see, go ahead, but you know what it is because I told you.
mm. Tylon,
Yes.
she raised a very interesting point, and I can appreciate it. So I grew up in the do as I say, not as I do time, and I grew up in a single household, a single mother household, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mother was God, and
Mm-hmm.
there was no I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
As I got older, I had my rebellion stage as we all do, but I was always left with this consciousness of be ready for the consequences because they will come.
Mhm.
So, do you feel that we have been taking this approach of do as I say, not as I do, and it's not a solid approach, or is there something else at play here?
Yeah, I think two things are true. I think there's definitely something at play, and I also believe that our approach needs to be modified. I think doing three jobs similar to today, so they didn't have the kind of patience, they didn't have the kind of tools to say, "I'm gonna take away your car driving privileges" and things like that. We didn't have a car. So I think the way that we raise our children, we have to be a little bit more engaged, but we also have to create another type of community because they're getting that information, and some of their major influences are now the virtual community, where
Mm.
they're online and they're engaged in a different way. We have to be in those spaces, and we can no longer tell our kids to kind of be quiet. Children should be seen and not heard. We can't spank our kids if they get things wrong. All of this stuff is like from slave. That's not really African. It's not really the way that we're supposed to raise and love our children. And Iduku means to bring out, that's the root word of education, meaning that we're supposed to recognize that our children are already brilliant. They've been here before, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 times, and we have to give them the experiences that they need to enhance what is inside of them, and at the same time, just share with them our experiences so that they can find their way. And it's far more complicated. I'm sorry, I know this is not a popular opinion now for young people than I think we had it. And we talk about how rough we had it, and we how tough it is. I think we never had to deal with guns in school. That's like crazy. When we grew up, it was like a gun in the school. Like what? Like somebody put a gun in the school, and shootings in front of schools. I mean, we had a code, and it's because we don't have a community. And I know I'm going to get a lot of stuff for it. I know we could probably talk about it. We have places where Black people live, but we don't have communities. If we had communities, we would control the police. We would control the education. We're not in control. We are subjects, and we are being oppressed, and the oppression is real. So much so that we can't really even have meaningful interactions with our children without some agency, some other part or party engaged and involved. So it's a breakdown of our families from that's rooted in over 400 plus years of oppression that we have to acknowledge and connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
Danette,
Mm-hmm.
Tylon is opening up a serious can.
Mm-hmm.
And no, understand something. No. I'm glad that you did, and I'm saying that respectfully. And the reason why I'm saying that is because these are conversations, or this is the conversation that we need to be having on a national level, right? We're not allowed to spank our children. You go to jail. You leave a mark on your child, you go to jail.
Right.
So what does that say? That means that the system runs the show.
Exactly.
We can't collectively come together. We can't congregate. And the most important piece that I took away from what he just said was about community. We live in places, but we don't have community. We don't have community anymore.
Right.
When I was growing up, if you messed up down the street, somebody was getting at you. And by the time you got up the street to where mom or dad was, or whoever in your family was, you probably catch it along the way. Go ahead, do your thing. So
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Do you feel, or not even, I'm sure you agree, but what is wrong? What is taking us away from having this community? What is the interrupter? What is the constant factor that divides our community? I'm really,
it's not coming from one place. That's why, I think, it's not this singular shot. It's a dynamic attack. Our community has been under attack since we've been here. The whole idea is to divide and conquer, and they use it because it's very effective. It's the methods that they're using aren't really per se new. It's just kind of manifests in a different way. It's at the end of the day, it's people realizing that we're under attack. Like I said, the most dangerous is this idea. The most dangerous idea is this idea that we're somehow free, or oppression doesn't exist, or that police brutality and murder, harassment and corruption is just an anomaly. as opposed to that the system or the system is broken. That you hear people saying it's working fine. It's working fine for them.
As
You
it
know,
was designed to work.
as it was designed to work to benefit them. That's how white supremacy operates and functions. And to think anything other than that is, I think, is a mistake. That they're attacking us through the media that we're talking about. They're attacking us with the education. They're attacking us with the food. It's almost everywhere. It's like it almost makes sense to get out of this country to just. It's hard to heal from an abusive relationship and you're still in it, or you still live in that house where this person is abusing you. And so we find ourselves with all of these different kinds of things, and we just think they're like outbursts. We just think that, oh, it's an isolated thing. No, it's not. It's like you are not crazy. You're not confused. You are under attack. You've been under attack, and this is just a new form of it.
But how do we convince the people? Because I need you both to understand something. When I speak to people, because I'm of a lighter hue, I'm still a man of color, right? But since I'm of a lighter hue, people look at me and say, "Yeah, we understand that there's some difference there, but why do you see things this way? I mean, you're not essentially black, right?" Now, that speaks to the mindset, because if you are not black, why should you care?
Wow.
Essentially, right? If you're not heavily, if I had my grandmother's color or my dad's solid color, then my reasoning or my disposition would be, yeah, okay, we get it, right?
Right.
But when you see me on the surface, you think these people, because I've had these conversations, and they're hilarious. They're not hilarious in the sense that, wow, this guy's a clown. It's like, wow, you're extra ignorant. Because as a human being, just in that form, right? Just from that place, you know what's going on. You see it happening. How could you expect anybody to react or feel differently in this country?
Right.
Especially now, at Danette, and this is your wheelhouse. When it comes to police, this isn't some made up boogeyman story, right? This is happening, and it happens all the time. Why don't they, I'm going to say these people. I'm going to go out on a limb. Why don't these people get it? These so-called, there's liberal people that, we feel your plight to a degree. Why don't they get it fully and wholeheartedly?
On the one hand, I think, that's their norm.
You heard that, right, Tyler?
Yeah.
I do. I think, in the minds of, a lot of, white people, white supremacists, that's the normal way that things go. White on top, black on the bottom. Police control the masses, the people of color. For a long time, it was just police doing their job. And sometimes people get murdered in the process of that. For a long time, it was as simple as that in the minds of most Americans. I think that, they're brought up, and taught, and they have lots of imagery, all across the nation to show them, the correct positioning of America, and that positioning is white on top, black on the bottom. We live here, you live there, and the only time we meet is you're in our vicinity in the capacity of a servant in some form or fashion.
See, Tylon, to Danette's point, and what Tylon was speaking to earlier, how is it that anybody could see us in this way? Because the reality is, when you look outwardly, right, and you look about what this country is about, making money, period, right? It's a capitalist society. This is about making money. If you did a survey and walked around New York City prior COVID and looked at everybody's feet, what are the chances of you seeing Michael Jordans, LeBrons, Kyrie Irving's, or any random popular basketball player's sneakers on people's feet, like what the numbers would probably be like are astronomical, right? Commonality. If you took their phones and went through their playlists, what is the commonality that you're going to hear? You're going to hear hip hop heavy. You're going to hear trap music. You're going to hear reggae. You're going to hear everything black or of color. If you look at hairstyles, what are you going to see? You're going to see cornrows. You're going to see China bumps. You're going to see head wraps. What is that? That's indigenous people shit. Period. Right? People of color. Everything that moves and shakes in America is based off of people of color and black people specifically. So how are you telling me that we need to stay in these lanes?
Talk about it.
How is that? And Paul Mooney said it best, and I'm going to say it here, and I don't care who gets offended, and I'm sorry if you guys get offended. But Paul Mooney on Dave Chappelle's show said, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga.
Exactly.
And in that vein, how is it that we just do not get it? Empower ourselves. Take back what is ours. You're not included here. This is not your space. You can't be inducted into this area. No, it's real. It is so real because we have power players. There are people who have access, right? We got Oprah, right? There's people in Sunny Hostin is on The View. She's a woman of color. She's a black Latina, right? We have people that have access. Why is it that there is no collective? Where's our hedge fund? I mean, really, where are our realtors that are building out mini malls and getting bread? We sell everything. Do we not?
I don't. You know what? I believe that's a falsehood. That's an illusion. That's an illusion of inclusion. Those are individuals that have been allowed access to give the impression that you too can succeed just like they have. But when you look at what they're doing, they're not saying or doing anything to uplift our people, for real. They can only say the politically accepted spiel that appears like you care about your people or you're attempting to lift up your people. You don't have the withal of your own volition to address a specific issue, in the manner, in the gravity, and to the extent that you choose to, because they will cut your funds. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's an illusion. We got a situation right now with Ice Cube, who's championing a contract with Black America. You know how long that man been out there talking about that? Where was all the wealthy blacks in entertainment? How come nobody came along and joined with him? They didn't say shit. They knew he was doing it. They didn't say shit. The only reason why he got the little airplay that he did is because he's Ice Cube and he got a platform. So to straight out ignore him would have been blatant, But
yes,
things like that, they straight up ignored him. And I'm sorry to say, but a lot of our people, Black people, wealthy people, they're not for us. Okay, they are not. They are with corporate America, capital America, and they about making that money. Period. It's like we're on a standstill. The people on the bottom, our people on the bottom are looking at the ones at the top saying, yo, why you're not helping us? Why you're not speaking for us? Why you're not, And the ones on the top is like, when you move, I'll move. And just like that.
Tylon,
Yes.
this is what I appreciate about both of you right now. Because I put something out there specifically to garner the reaction that Miss Chavis just gave us. Right? Because what she's saying is these people are put out there as representatives of an ideal that we all can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the hot response. Oh,
Yeah,
why can't
Um,
these people will get shut down?
Yeah, well, because America is a big casino. You walk into a casino and you hear the lights blinking going off. You go, wow, I could win too. You know, I could win big and not realizing that the house is stacked against you. So they have to have people like the Oprahs and the Cosbys and the so forth and so on. But I just wanted to say too that although they're caught up in this illusion of inclusion, there's one layer to white supremacy and its white dominance. See, because they have all the money. So, although, we try to ascend economically and we try to, garner respect and all this, and we think in financial terms, we have to be very careful about that because remember Black Wall Street, remember Roosevelt, remember thinking in terms of all we have to do is, make our own and have our own and not remember what they just did in Philadelphia with Move. And, they blew up communities and they were mostly Black businesses. In Harlem, when they took all the vendors off of 120 and then put them on 116th Street, and then you have now Starbucks and it's about money to a certain extent. Yes, money will actually help in certain areas, but over that, the financial gain is white supremacy, that they have to be in control. All I have to say is Nick Cannon. I mean, that's a recent example of, we'll give you this, but this is as far as you can go. This is as much as you can say, and you say anything else other than that, you're going to be, kissing the ring, getting on your knees and asking and begging for your position back because they gave it to you. And that's why your form is so important. And this is why what you and even Danette, I'm telling you, are doing is so powerful because it's organic. It's from the street. If the people make you, only the people can take it away. But when you go to corporate America and they make you, you better read the script.
Tying us into their money means that they can turn the spigot off at any time.
They control you. Yeah, it costs to be the boss. Remember?
Definitely. And see, this is what I mean because this all leads to one place, and that is political power. Since we have no political power, no political capital, no political base of our own, what happened recently over the last couple of years with our people specifically across the rainbow of color, if you would, people were led to believe that they needed to tie themselves to a wagon that never, ever cared about them, right? So people would hit me with the, I'm a free thinker, I'm a Republican, and, Democrats are the party of slavery. And I'm like, bro, let me ask you a question. Name the last, go ahead, Danette. Name the last 5 policies that Republicans have brought to the floor for people of color and Black people specifically. You can't. You know why? Because they don't do that. That is not serving their interest. On top of that, let's go back. After Reconstruction, we had about, 10, 12 years? So many gains were made, so many strides were made, and we were holding office and becoming mayors and building businesses. And what happened? Why did the Republican Party get back in bed with the Democrats? Oh, because they started to realize that the people who had all the skills and skilled labor were Black people. And not only that, they were starting to create political strongholds and becoming leaders and showing what they were really made of. And they were going to start running shit in this country. Oh, is that why? So what happened from Reconstruction up until the Civil Rights Movement? You do realize that right outside of my life, Black people got the right to vote. Let that sink in, because I know you haven't learned anything in history. Let that fucking sink in your mind. Your father or mother was born in a time where Black people didn't have the right to vote, and then they got it. So what does that tell you? These people have had like 200, 300 years of economic, running head start. What do you think this system is built for?
Yeah.
Right?
They gave you the right to vote when it didn't matter because they since brought the Senate, the House of Representatives. They own all the important land. They make all the important decisions, and they have you voting for nobody. I think whether Biden and Trump is in, that's why I don't vote, and I didn't encourage people to. But they died for vote. I said no, they were killed and they were murdered. They didn't die.
Yes.
Kelly,
this system, is corrupt to its core, and there, I'm not get caught up in this whole blue red stuff. I think about Malcolm when he said, "As long as you south of Canada, you south," and that's a reality. The lesser of two evil is still evil. And we should be thinking about getting free. And one of the ways that we become free is freeing our minds, having shows like your show where we can have real conversation and discussions and just talk about the issue, agree to disagree, whatever, but have a free space where we can talk in a real meaningful way and not worry about what somebody's going to say, who we're going to offend, who's going to be bothered by the truth that we speak. And people who are bothered by the truth, they just have to deal with it. We're only responsible for what we transmit. We're not responsible about how people receive it. People need to hear more and more voices that are not compromised or otherwise, you kind of usurped in a way that I can't say this because I'm financed by this car company or this oil company or this pharmaceutical company. Your show is unembedded by the white supremacist construct. So more and more shows like this is going to have to emerge if we're going to control the diameter of people's thinking and thus controlling the circumference of their actions.
Danette, why are our people still trying to tie themselves to a wagon that doesn't give a damn about them? And more so, why haven't we gotten it through our heads that we need our own party? Because what Tylon just spoke to, I mean, that's the game. That's the big picture, right? So how is it that people today are still being convinced that they need a Democrat or a Republican to make their lives better? I'm still dumbfounded by it. Free thinkers, allegedly.
I really think we're still slaves. I think that we don't recognize the bondage that we're in because we never really understood the ways in which we were held in bondage besides chains, besides the most outright blatant slavery where you were in chains, you were on a plantation. I don't believe that we ever learned or ever understood collectively as a people the laws that were created, to sustain that slavery, even in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the laws that made sure that, you could only live in a certain designated area of the city, and no place else. You couldn't buy a home. They had actual covenants and agreement on the deeds itself that specifically said in black and white that these properties cannot be sold to people of color. I don't think that we understood not just slavery, but the aftermath of slavery. These are things that occurred once we were proclaimed to be free. Okay, I don't think that because we understood that it literally is embedded in the system and that there literally was laws, not too long ago, 20, 30 years ago, that maintained separation, that made sure that you didn't come up to economic equality in various ways. It influenced your housing, it influenced your job, it influenced whether or not you can get credit. And even if you did get credit, you had to pay more in interest than white people. So although you got the credit, you didn't get the same level or the same amount. There's like 50 million things that was done to keep you where you are. But you saw increments of what appeared to be you progressing forward. Okay, the majority of you didn't, but you saw people like you, well, they did have the home, they did have the house, but you never understood the terms under which they obtained it. Okay, right. And nobody blasts these payments is kicking me in my ass, I cannot afford it, and most people come hell or high water, whatever the cost, they're going to get what it is they want to have for themselves and their families. So we don't share, what we're going through. We don't share because these are personal things, family things. You never say, I got a car payment and I can't handle it. It's killing me. The same is true during the 30s and 40s. You may have got that house where the majority of us did, but you never confessed the terms under which you got it because you were just too. So we cover, the reality of our existence here in this country. And we never really acknowledge, we're still in bondage. We are. We're hard pressed to tell, another Black woman or another Black man, they still got us as a slave. It's hard. How do you do that? You got a job, maybe you got a degree, maybe you live in that life. Okay. How do you convince them that you're still, a slave? Maybe if you did some internal research on your job, you're the best that done it. Okay. But somebody else less qualified than you got the promotion that you should have gotten. Okay, you could see little things even in your own life where racism is still in existence, discrimination is still in existence. They don't mind, stealing your talents and your wealth to make the country millions of dollars, but are they going to compensate you and pay you what you're worth? They absolutely are not. These are still remnants from slavery, as a way of keeping us, down on the bottom while they excel. Now you look at the youth, what do they know about it?
Not a damn thing.
You said earlier, the majority of them is wearing Jordans and all of these famous stuff, and they're emulating, their idols in the media, in hip hop, and how come they don't see it? Because when you running, trying to get off the plantation, you don't take notice of all the stuff that's going around. You just trying to get the hell up out of there. And if you see, well, Michael Jordan did it playing ball, I'm going to play ball, or, if a rapper like me, he came from where I live. He lived in the same hood. So that's a viable means for me to make it out. We follow that. And that has been taken and I feel dangled before, our children's faces as, yes, come this way. I think for no other reason, the way that a lot of young adults are propped up in media, is to influence. I think that that's the greatest influence upon our youth that there is. We got young women that don't mind buying tits and ass. We got young men that don't mind, wearing, pink outfits and things that pertain to women. The only thing, that they care about is that paper. Okay, the paper is God. The paper, hey, listen, answers all the questions, solves all the problems. They like F what you heard. As long as I got mine, I'm goody. Okay, and they are, that's where they at. How are we as an adult, or what's in the school curriculum to turn them from going that route? Okay, when we get a bogus BS education in the first place, education that we're given is for us to go get a job in somebody else's business, making them millions of dollars. Why the hell would you go to college for 4, 6, 8 years, come out in debt $100,000 before you even got the first job? And you're going to take all of that knowledge and put it in somebody else's business? No. That kind of money spent on education should be spent on developing your own business. So we are not correctly instructing our children ourselves. Because when I came up, it was like, go to school so you could graduate, so you could get a good job, and that job is with somebody else. Not go to school, go to college so you can develop your own business and establish your own firm. We didn't get that kind of instruction, and it's not our parents' fault because they did the best that they knew with how they had. If you never got a chance to fully enter into that system as a Black person, you don't know the tricks and schemes and the snares that's set up to catch you. So you think it's all good. You failed. So yes, you push them and you encourage them. Go through, finish, excel, graduate, because you want to see them go farther than you. But We haven't had the opportunity to see that that's a dead end for us. That's not the road for us.
People don't understand this right now, specifically in this time. We've produced a lot of ball players, a lot of rappers, a lot of entertainers over the last, 10, 20, 30 years, right? These generations that have come. Where are our thinkers? Where are our leaders that are stepping into the roles that were left vacant through assassination, incarceration, and so on? Where are our great people? Where are our doctors? I mean, Ben Carson, amazing doctor, a shitty HUD person, his secretary, whatever it is that he does up there. And I don't want to knock. And it's very hard to do this nowadays because we talked about Ice Cube, right? We talked about all these people who have power and affluence, right? And we really don't want to knock them. But the reality is their actions cause us to cast judgment, right? But the point being, where are our great leaders? And why do we keep producing the same result? Kids wanting to become ball players and so on and so forth. Why,
I think besides the theft of our intellectuals, right? I think the fact that I'm on a program with two leaders right here, I don't think that there aren't leaders. I think the reach and influence that we have is the discussion and it's the question. We have plenty of leaders. I mean, there are so many organizations who are doing so many wonderful things on the ground. It's like, why isn't Mallory running for, president? I think what it is at the end of the day, it's a market game where, this talent, and you would think that there's none because they don't have the microphone. And they give the microphone to the people who are least educated, who are anti-critical and analytical thinking, and who will ape and read the script that the master presents in front of them. And they'll tell it to our people. And then we'll get frustrated and say, well, where's our leaders? We don't have it. Our people are doing the work in the street. The net is day in and day out, 24/7. No, 25/8.
Yes, sir.
You have to invent an extra hour and an extra day to do a lot of work. Brother, I just met you. This is an outstanding program. You know the right questions to ask. They aren't softball. They aren't cute questions, and they really get people to think. And so we exist. So we are like in stark contrast to the narrative that there aren't intelligentsia. There aren't critical and analytical thinkers. It's just that we don't have the mic. We don't have the marketing. We're right now on the internet in a sea of other shows, and people have to find us. So it's about how we market ourselves and ideas, and they keep us out, and they keep us out by design so that they can control the narrative. So they can say, no, don't pay attention to this person, pay attention to this rapper. Don't look at this, that, and the other. Your leaders are Cardi B. Don't listen to that. No, you don't want to do that. You want to listen to Kanye. So, and so we throw our hands up and say, wait, we've been out here all the time. We've been in the street. We're here. Hello. And even if you get someone's attention for the moment, all they got to do is guess what happened with Kardashians and the Kardashians or whatever, whatever. And then all of a sudden they get lulled to sleep and they get distracted. And that's all they need is that moment to distract them. I mean, how many times you had the attention of your kids? And I know if your parents are around kids, you actually get their attention because it resonates. When you start telling them the truth, they'll be like, hey, wait a minute. And then as soon as you leave them, a record comes on, everything you just said. So if we had a community that kind of insulated, where it's not just me saying it.
Right.
Can you imagine if we lived in a building and Danette was across the street, you were down the block, so everywhere our kids would go, there would be people who thought and acted just like us. We don't have that access. We don't have community. We have people with position, but we don't have people with real power. They have money, right? But money is not wealth. They might have some reach and influence, but guess who controls the spigot? Their boss, the people you see behind or don't see behind, that will tell you this is acceptable for you to say, and slap you on the wrist. Nuh-uh, don't say that. Don't say this. Change your lyrics. every time it's a critic, you know. So, I think making people realize that this is our reality is a better place to start from this idea that we are starting on this shaky foundation of we're included and that this system works. We just got to tweak this law. We just got to just elect this one person and everything will magically change for us. We just go be good and go to school. We just keep our head down and all this other kind of stuff, you know, and we just train the cops. All of them, to me, the most silliest, ridiculous things that have already been tried and proven not to work. And then they regurgitate the same things. Let's defund the police now. All this is a joke. It's not going to end well. This country was built off of the massacre of the indigenous people, and built off of the labor, the free labor and exploitation, the murder, the rape, the dehumanizing conditions and food and air that Africans had to suffer under. And it's not going to end well. Unfortunately, we actually are bearing witness to, I think, the decline when you have, somebody like a talk show host is the president. You know, he's a, clearly he's a car salesman and he's the president of America. And I think it's appropriate because this is a kind of this America is really a circus. It really is.
I've always said that. Danette, you may remember, Mr. Dennis Bruno was on the first show. Thailand, if you don't know, the first show that I had, Ms. Danette was a part of. It was Danette, a friend of mine, Joseph Estrella, who's an amazing historian buff, and then my other friend, Mr. Dennis Bruno, who it was sort of a semi-pastor in training. So we talked about racism in America from those three different aspects concerning police brutality, a historical aspect, and then biblically, right? So during this conversation and what I'm listening to now, I had a conversation with my friend, Mr. Bruno, and I said to him, America is the whore of Babylon. And anybody who, is Christian or has read the Bible will understand what I mean when I'm saying that, right? And the reason why I say that is evident. You turn your TV on, you'll see and understand the point. However, I've also said constantly through the years, in my early years as a teen to now, that America owes a debt of blood, right? The people, the generational people of this country who have been in control, because nobody moves out of government. That's a cycle of people, right? Those people bring their nieces and nephews and cousins and brothers and daughters and they intern and they start a PR firm or a lobbyist firm, and that money stays in a specific circle. So this country, the people in power in government, owes a debt of blood. The indigenous people of this land, specifically the Africans that were stolen, right? And everybody else in between, but those two being the major key components of that debt. To this day, whenever you speak about reparations, people get turned off. Oh, why do I have to pay? I never owned a slave. Well, you don't need to be in this conversation because you're not built for it. You should just shut up and listen. Maybe that'll help you gain some understanding to what's going on. And when it's presented to the government officials, we can't trace back. It'll take too much. And the most hilarious thing that happened when this person in government said that, a week later, a report came out that his family, he's direct descendant of slave owners. How long did that take? A week?
That's right.
My man, let's stop. My point that you were sort of alluding to, we're now being led by a game show host, right? And this is not to detract or to speak down to anybody who supports him outside of these racist, outright racist people. Anybody who's an outside racist person, like just outright, I'm not here for you. Me and you can't have a discussion because you can't even sit and speak, right? You're irrational. But people outside of that bubble, This man is somebody, a cult personality that you watched on TV. You absolutely do not know anything about him. He's been packaged and marketed to you for this very moment now. We have a generation of people who have been groomed to make trolling or trolls what the kids call the wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we got this guy beating his chest. And they loving it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you that man has never balled up his fist not a day in his life. Selling wolf tickets forever and a day, right?
Yeah.
You know, we grew up in a specific section of the city, right, and in this country. And when you went anywhere outside, if you went, my dad was in the military. I went to Virginia. I went to, up and down the South. When I said I was from New York, you get mugged? Like, you see shootings. And the point is, when somebody's about that life, you recognize it because you've been around it.
Right.
You know what crazy looks like. And I don't mean like Bellevue 730.
Mm-hmm.
I mean like in the street, crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
These people have been marketed and packaged this person.
Right.
It's been slowly in the making.
Mm-hmm.
They put him out there, presented him against what? What was the opposition? Some woman we all know that's dirty as damn hell. What she and her family did to Haiti, just that alone, like that's just one little sliver of the pie.
Right.
It was all the perfect storm. And now, I don't know if you guys have been following the news or seeing notifications in alternative media or YouTube or whatever. About a month ago, I took a trip to Albany to see my nephews.
Mm-hmm.
When I got off the interstate, when I got off 95 and we went into town, we got off by Albany University. I saw a caravan of trucks and cars with these huge Trump flags. And I was like, wow, that's curious. Like, what's going on? Are they having a rally out here? Like, is he up here? No, he's not. Fast forward to now, you seen it on the news that these caravans are. Does that remind you of a time in this country's history when people used to ride? Right, look, I didn't even have to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
The Klan.
And why? I really can't make heads or tails of why people cannot recognize the game that is being played out here. Why, even the people that are not outright racist, and this is why I wanted to point to that.
Mm-hmm.
Why can you not make out that you're being used? You're a foot soldier for this moment, right? So if he loses, what do you think these people gonna do?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more than a constitutional crisis. But to your point that I think this is an opportunity for us to wake up and for us to do our job more, like in terms of just people who are speaking truth to power and aggravate and say, see, they never went anywhere. So Trump is really a gift, I think, to the movement in that you see more organizing, you see galvanizing, you've seen the responses that we've had with George Floyd and so many others across this country is because, we got it honestly lulled to a very, very deep sleep, almost in a coma. I would say when Obama was in office, where, we didn't push or ask. You had a handful of people who were pushing it, Cornel West and Tavis Smiley and other groups that was really pushing him to do something, for us. And now Trump, he's like a gift in the sense that, people are starting to realize and see that, wait a minute, these racist people that's my dentist out there. She belongs to the PTA. She's a school teacher in my son's school, and see that, they were hidden before. And they was among us all the time. I mean, that would be a really good movie, like Among Us always they've been next to us and smiling in our face, playing hip hop music, and then you see them out there, giving, the salute and carrying a tiki torch and all this other kind of stuff. This is now a perfect time for a black intelligence agency to take a lot of pictures, find out who all these people are, where they're at, and you know how in the 50s they had this guidebook.
The Green Book.
The Green Book. Yeah. I was watching Lovecraft Country. They really interwove that story brilliantly.
Yes,
But
they did.
if we need to get up on our intelligence game and our way of protecting what we're going to build. I am so concerned about this contract with America because I like Ice Cube and I like all this other, but America does not honor or respect its contracts. If we go and we do things and we build things, they always destroy it. And I'm tired of us building without thinking about the history. How do we not have this information and not make this part of our, curriculum, our contract, our agreements, our progress, a way for the first time that you can actually protect black people?
I don't even understand why why in 2020 is that an issue for anybody, right?
Because we actually move backwards. I mean, we are where we are, and we can't see it because you see all this media and it shows you the slave shows, and that's why I don't like these shows about driving mistakes, whatever the show about slavery, because it's to me a psyop. It's a psychological operation to get us to identify with oppression only from that 50s and 60s angle. So we feel like, well, we free because we ain't going through that, but we don't see the new manifestation of that very same thing because it's insidious and it's even deep rooted and it's even more dangerous because we have people, cooking and dying and they dancing in the frying pan.
Silent weapons for secret wars. It's something that I've repeated quite a few times because if you don't know the constructions and institutions and think tanks and all these things that play behind the scenes to bring forth this matrix, if you would, of a society that we see, you're not going to see it, you're not going to understand it. And I think that that's a weakness of many people. And I know a lot of people tonight watching, and I've shared this across a few of other group pages, won't understand, right? They in their minds, they're saying, well, this was supposed to be about the election. Like, why are they talking about all these things? Well, it's very simple. Until people of color and black people specifically are positioned correctly in this society, we are going to continue to see the things that we're seeing. We're going to continue to see the state-sanctioned murder and the murder porn that we're seeing. We're going to continue to see our children fall behind in education. We're going to continue seeing the repetitive cycle of people being locked up either rightfully or unjustly, and there's nothing that can be done. And another thing I'm going to say is, and I've said this constantly, the only time that change comes to this country is through blood. And a lot of people get turned off when I say that because they feel like I'm being a cynic or that I'm going out too far on a limb. But Tylon said earlier, Danette, he spoke about all these instances of where the government or state actors have destroyed people of color and black people, specifically economic strongholds or communities. The most recent one, when he mentioned MOVE, a lot of people don't understand MOVE or what happened there, right? A lot of people, if you ask them, hey, did you hear what happened in Philadelphia against the MOVE organization? They MOVE who? Who's MOVE? What's that? MOVE, get out the way? What is that? Right? And that is part and parcel to the point when I was speaking to the educators why we kept, in some way, shape, or form, getting back to education. Because in this country, our children aren't even taught real history. Columbus didn't land in North America. He didn't even land in America, right? So why are you still telling that story? and want to get upset when we're like, hey, he was a savage. Him and his people were savages. Oh, you can't say that. And why you can't take his statue down? Why the fuck not? Y'all lying. Would they listen? They would never even erect a statue of Malcolm or Martin without some strife, or declare their day a holiday, or bring forth Marcus Garvey, or all these great people that have tried to make strides for liberation, right, and freedom, right? But you putting up statues of bozos that were slaveholders and savages and killing people and dismembering, and you expect me in 2020 to rock? No, I can't. You know, you understand?
Well, I actually thought that, we got tricked. And when I say we, I'm talking about Black folks who were insisting that these statues come down because they were in a front. I kind of felt like, they want to try to erase that history. They want us to, not remember who were some of these people who were in the front of our oppression. And I think, the fight should have been erecting more statues about us, people who fought, like right side by side with those statues should have been people who were there, who were fighting against the Jim Crow laws, the Ku Klux Klan, the Malcolms and Martin, Mumia, who is still languishing in prison. I'm talking about Mumia Abu-Jamal, who's the Move movement.
Yes, sir.
Want to acknowledge, him who is still in prison and he's innocent, and there's so many other folks that are innocent. I think that we should erect models that people can see of our kith and kin who were heroes in the shadow, have all those other statues should be like small, like wherever those whatever size statue that is, we should commission people to make giant statues.
They should be a footnote.
Yeah, but I think too we have to be very careful because they're very slick at maneuvering people to work against their own interests and acting like it's their argument and their plight and their fight. I think we need to not only remember who these people are, but we need to track their ancestors. You'd be surprised if their ancestors is running ahead of a board of some company, running a bank. Is that dentist in your daughter's mouth, or the teacher in the school? I think we need to get in, like, what do you call it? The Mossad we should do with the Jews when they track down all of the Nazis and things like that. We need that kind of data and information because, a lot of these people are acting like they're our friends today. They act like they care about our concerns and all that. Yeah, join this group and let me throw you a couple of bucks because we really down with you. And they really are setting you up to fail. So like when you go to marches, and I remember I used to be in marches, and it goes from, fuck the police to, arms up, don't shoot. Like, what? Who said that? And all of a sudden it's a big, I thought this was the police march.
I'm at the wrong place.
Yeah,
what happened, man?
Arms up, don't shoot. And, the whole world's watching. I'm like, not these guys. Who said all this? And it's because we really always have had this uneasy relationship with liberals. We've always had this, and like I said, it's always been, and I'm just using their phraseology, but everybody gets the right wing, and to me, right wing. And they're the same thing. They're not interested in the real, true freedom and liberation of Black people. They're not. Because as soon as you start talking about that, all of a sudden it's about LGBTQ. It's about women's rights. It's about all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, wait, that's not what I'm talking about.
I want to speak to that.
Here for that.
Yeah, I want to speak to that. And Danette, I need your opinion on this. Over the last couple of years, well, let me preface it with this. Everybody has the right to be happy and miserable in their own happiness. So that's
wait,
just,
I need to let that digest.
That's a good one.
it's just the truth. Getting in a relationship is very easy. Creating some sort of semblance of balance and love and happiness and chemistry and flow with another human being is something that you work at, right? As a married man of 24 years,
What?
yeah, 24. Listen,
Bless you.
you know,
Bless you.
no outside kids,
What?
no side chick.
That's a book. That's a movie.
Yes, sir. Um, I feel that everybody has a right to find their happiness and be miserably happy, just like everybody else. Because in our own way, you get in a relationship, you in love, you go through the honeymoon stage, and then you start to understand if you decide that this is who you're gonna be with. That's when the work starts. Because then you find your groove, you find out, how they stink, how they move, how they this, and then you understand that it's not all fucking crimson and clover, right? So I'm prefacing this next question with that. I don't feel that anybody should be mitigated or hindered to finding another person that they can love and they can be loved by. I don't think it's the government's place or any religious institution's place to interfere with freedom and liberty, because that's a tenet this country was allegedly built on, right? So with saying that, I want to, and I kind of want to blame women, and don't get mad at me, because there's
you blame women?
Yeah, I'm gonna go
I
out
want
on a
to hear
limb.
this.
Yeah,
Let me get some popcorn.
I'm telling you, you better break out the big broom for that. Clean that up. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tread lightly.
Uh,
Um, people have been coddled, and they're giving these sort of pillows to walk around on because they're being persecuted in this moment. And it sort of speaks to what you were saying before, Thailand. It's one of those instances where it's a setup. It's a setup. They put things out there for you to fight over or to get you riled up by all this other shit is happening and you become distracted, right?
absolutely.
So in the fight that we're in collectively, you have people skipping the line. Because let's not get it twisted. The people who are at the front of the line and have been fighting at the front of the line,
Right.
black people specifically,
Right.
and everybody else afterwards, either in support or full on, head on, we with you, right?
Right.
You have these movements, like you mentioned, the LGBTQ community, and so on, and they're attempting to, and in some ways successfully, jumping that line because they've been piggybacking. And in a way, I meet a lot of resistance with the little stunts that they pull to distract us with this whole, my child is 7 and he's not a boy, he's a girl, and I let him dress up like a girl. Or my daughter is 6 or 7. And you understand? Those
Right.
distractions.
Right.
Women, as I engage them in these subjects, women that I know in my family, my daughter gets at me. She lets me have it, and others fight me on this,
Right.
right? Without realizing that what they're doing is putting their energy in a movement that even within that movement there's racism,
Right.
and it's being pushed by the same people who push this system that
Right.
they look just like them,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So
Right.
why I get the motherly instinct. I'm not trying to be sexist. I just don't understand why the women, because the reality is it all starts with women. It has always started with women forever. You can look at any point in history when shit was going crazy and they were like, yo, we're not hearing it no more. It's usually because women was like, you know what, we ain't hearing this shit.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But right now, women are sort of being the proxy to this movement. And I don't understand why they don't see that. They take it as an offense when I tell them, like, you know what you're doing is wrong. You're creating a problem here.
Well, I have a response, but I'm just so interested in what Danette has to say. So
Yeah.
I'll say what I know she's gonna knock this out the park, but I'm just really curious. Like,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
the question is, just pretty much like, do you also see or agree that, a lot of women, particularly Black women, who are kind of stand in allegiance with all of these other groups before looking at the Black family issues, and saying, okay.
What other groups are you talking about?
Well, the women's group, women's right feminist movement.
Okay.
I think this is what he was saying. LGBT. Cut me off if I'm not representing your thoughts properly. Like, the LGBTQ or whatever else seems to be going on or going wrong with the quote unquote government. And before the issue of putting Black families first, putting even Black men saying, wait a minute, these are our natural protectors. These are our natural people who are supposed to be providing for us. A lot of them are in prison. Why is all these other issues seem to be championed and embraced by, it seems, and I will say seem, because we really don't know, because we do understand, and we spoke about this earlier, that sometimes they prop up people and they finance these people and their organizations and stuff like that, and who heads these organizations to say this is the critical issue in our community. So it's just more or less like, where do you fall in that, and do you even agree with our critique of it? Like, we see, in a sense, or at least I see, because I agree with him 1000%. I see kind of like almost like an abandonment to some extent to embrace other issues and not figure out what should happen first. And to me, family should be first, and I believe that it is. But we see much too often women attacking other Black men or even Black children to a certain extent, and in support of those causes, as opposed to the,
Okay. For one thing, I think women are at the helm of a lot of these fights simply because women are at the helm of a lot of these fights. Particularly when it comes to people of color, when you're talking about a fight, in any kind of injustice, to me, it seems that the majority fighting is and has always been women. Now, I do believe that there is, like some diabolical plan to, like, if not eliminate, ostracize the Black man, to make him a non-consideration. I think the only considerations that you get is when you see one shot on video by police, and then people are demanding justice. But even then, is it for that man, or because his mother's out there saying, I want justice for my child? But I think that there's so many devices being used against us and our people that you can hardly keep up, and I think that any real fight that begins on behalf of our people is quickly co-opted and redirected in another direction, so that the real issue for which it began begins to fade to black. It's like the agenda totally changes into something else, and the people, never even knew the difference. I'll come out and I'll say, Black Lives Matter is a classic example of that.
Yes,
In the beginning, it seemed like they were totally, wholly, unapologetically Black, but somewhere along the line, they swerved left. Right along the time, a lot of finances came into the picture, and then they went like worldwide, nationwide. But, being Black was like the second part of the story. At the forefront was the LGBT movement, and how, those people were being treated unjustly. I remember very specifically 2 or 3 years ago, I had, like, all of a sudden a number of people in the gay community looking for assistance because either they had gotten beaten up by police or falsely arrested by police, and they were called all kinds of, profanities because of, their sexual preference. And I was totally astounded that there was no aid or assistance or help for them, particularly when the Black Lives Matter movement was championing support for the LGBT. So I'm like, well, what the heck is going on? So there's a lot of things going on to destroy the family. If it ain't the man, it's the woman. And if it ain't the man, it's the children. Okay, nobody remains untouched. There's things continually, consistently. It's like, nobody is above being attacked or if you're not being attacked or they're trying to destroy you, it's because you've been totally made of use within the system, in a form that further, destroys the rest of, your people or takes them down the road they shouldn't go. It's just as simple as that, and I don't know if, we are ready for the kind of change that is required of us, because we don't really believe, a lot of African Americans don't really believe that there are systemic or diabolical attempts to destroy us. They don't really believe that. They believe that there's bad actors in government and, move them and put in somebody else, or they believe that there are laws in place that have to be done away with and we just need to create some new ones. They believe that their problem is them. If I had finished school or if I could just get a better job, things would be better for me and my family. But move out of America? No. Is there a racist problem? Yeah, but they don't really believe that the racism that is going on in America personally affects them until it personally affects them. And I'm saying they don't understand it to the degree to where they understand your housing situation is a direct result of racism. Okay, not just that you're poor, but even that you're poor is a direct result of racism. So we tend to blame it upon ourselves individually. My life is messed up because I didn't finish school, or my life is messed up because my father wasn't around, or my life was messed up for 50 million other reasons except the systemic racism in this country. So we don't see it. You can't fight what you don't see. You cannot. And if you don't understand how this country is down with its policies, and its racist laws, I don't know why the hell you consider yourself in a fight in the first place, because you're going to be barking up the wrong goddamn tree. You think the problem's over here. That ain't the problem. The
It's
problem
over there.
Yeah, and then you say, why are we not getting nowhere? We keep going round. Yes, you keep going round and round and round, doing the same thing, wondering what is the problem. Who does that? Where's the logic in that? Anyway, yeah, so that's my answer. That's how.
I wanna shift gears a little bit because I really wanna get your understanding and opinion about what I'm about to ask you both. So I have taken notice to the Latino community surging over the last 15 to 20 years. The Latino community happens to be one of the fastest growing populations here in America, right? Now, I am no stranger to understanding the connection between our people because I know history. I know from whence I came. I know their history, right? I take uh, offense to the people that come from the island that I'm partly owned by, I should say. Where my father was born, my grandparents were born, and the other side of my family is from, that look like you two and stand in denial or push that side of them away. Now, when it comes to New York City or big cities in particular, and I'll say the East Coast because I find Puerto Ricans up and down the East Coast, whether it be military or just movement, I still can't understand to this day how we've missed the opportunity to become a collective and create a force. Because at this point in time, that's what we should be doing.
Mhm.
Ultimately, our interests lie parallel to each other. They're both headed in the same direction. They both experience relatively the same things in life as we walk now, right? And I understand that there's self hatred. I understand that there's people that want to fit. I understand that there's people, that want to be down. I get it. We have it. We have all those people in our families. With the Cuban movement in Florida, specifically, and the South Americans, and even some Mexicans, but I would say more so South Americans that are really ultra conservative Catholic people, right? What is the problem? And or not even what the problem is. How do you see the Latino community where you stand right now? Do you see them honestly as an ally, or do you see them as an issue? And be as honest as you want to be, please.
Mhm.
I don't know any reasons uh, why they would be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do know that there was some, unity and solidarity back in the '60s. I don't know really what's going on today. I don't, I can't think of any, Puerto Rican, Latino organization or youth that's solely that has come together with an African American organization that's solely that, like combined forces like that. I see intermingling. I see fights that consist of both blacks and Puerto Ricans.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a division or something like that, I don't know about it. Or if there's some issues, I don't know what they are.
Okay. Tylon?
I think we better learn Chinese and Spanish real quick.
Good.
If you just look at where society is going, and you look at just the birth and death rates and so forth, I think that this government is uniquely adept and sophisticated at divide and conquer. I mean, going back to the Young Lords, and even recently, I know Spirit Child has been working with the Puerto Rican community when we're talking about police brutality, and there are so many groups that do support reparations that are not black, have no skin in the game, so to speak, literally.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
and I don't want to give this illusion like it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. No, there aren't. But however, um, their relationship is incentivized by when I say that, let me be specific. Other groups we were talking about Puerto Ricans, the Hispanic community, um, are incentivized to stay away from issues concerning, because it's not your issue. And that I, to do so is to be a detriment to our thing. So it's an issue of divide and conquer. It's a sophisticated game that's being played. Whenever there are alliances, they are abruptly kind of like interrupted. However, there are people who are, despite all of the shenanigans and manipulation, find ways to not only embrace, but to, in a meaningful way, recognize that um, their struggle is our struggle. Our struggle, to a certain extent,
Right.
is their struggle, because Puerto Rico is still fighting for their independence, free from America, and people don't see that. People don't understand, that they don't. We are only spoon fed the narratives from, I think, a lot of people who are also caught up into this illusion of inclusion.
That's
Um,
right.
and then, racism is a hell of a thing. It's a disease, and it has it has infected this entire planet, where you have people even in Africa trying to bleach their skin because they understand that with lighter complexion comes a lighter load in your life. and a lighter burden.
Hmm.
And so when you look at people who even I remember I met a guy who was darker than me and talking about, and he was so proud of the fact that he had a Italian mother. My mother's Italian, and I'm darker. Because I think everybody understands that, if you're black, it's like you're the boogeyman. That's like the worst thing to be. So if people introduce themselves and tell you what they are a part of, it's no more like, I'm black and I'm proud. It's like, yeah, and I'm just mixed with my cousin's Puerto Rican, my aunt is Indian Cherokee, and they start talking about this thing. I'm like, you black. When they see your skin, they gonna ask you what you mix with.
Yep.
When they, I don't know if people remember Anthony Baez. When these people want to shoot and they want to kill you, if you ain't white, that's you ain't got the complexion as Paul Mooney used to say, the complexion
for the protection.
It's a wrap. So I think that's where it's easy for us to kind of see, yeah, let's unify on that, on that issue. And I think when it comes to reparations, things get real funny.
The reparations, and I don't mean to cut you off, but reparations ultimately is unique and specific to a certain segment of the population, right? Now, and I'm kind of glad you said that. On another note, reparations outside of the U.S. and what it did are definitively owed to Puerto Ricans.
That's right.
And
Haitians and
listen.
Mexicans. Everybody who was on that boat and dropped off in different places.
Hello.
Have a grievance.
Hello. and it's funny because I was just on a podcast about a week ago. It's a gentleman, I believe he's down in Houston. He has a show called The Angry Black Man's Podcast. And amazing. So he was speaking to this gentleman from the Caribbean. And this gentleman was giving him hell about ADOS. Because I understand that ADOS is making strides out west, right, for reparations. So I told him, I said, listen, you have to understand his perspective. He definitely doesn't know any history. That's first and foremost, because if he did, he wouldn't be speaking in that way. He would take the conversation in a different direction to address his grievances and champion black people in the U.S. getting reparations, right? But I told him, I said, some people come from the Caribbean and they lose their identity. I'm American now, right? They're no longer Guyanese. They're no longer Trinidadian, Barbadian, Bayesian, whatever. They're American. But then there are those of us that come from the Caribbean, and we ain't never going to let you fucking forget when it's Labor Day, when the Puerto Rican Day Parade comes, or whatever. You understand? We ain't never letting that shit go. They took our flag from us. They wouldn't allow us to speak our language. We got their skin in the game, and we ain't never going to let it go. You understand? So my whole thing is, Tylen said earlier that the racism is a wicked thing. And Danette, I believe you said that, or both of you said that racism is an illness. It's a mental illness.
It's a disease.
Right. So it kills me. I went to Dominican Republic for my anniversary last year. There was a young gentleman on the beach who I spoke to who was darker than both of you. And he understood and recognized the fact of who he was. And he told me about what life was like out there for him, because he's a Dominican. He didn't say I'm half Haitian. He didn't say he's half anything. He said, I'm 100% Dominican. And it's a shame because my own people treat me. And I was like, really? Now explain to me this, because then I went and, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm on vacation. I don't care, but I'm going to pull somebody's coat because I want to know what the fuck is going on. So I went to the bartender. I'm hitting him all day, getting drinks, tipping him. I said, let me ask you a question, because he was a little darker than me. I said, you're Dominican? And he said, yeah. I said, why are you so dark? Now, mind you, he couldn't have been 3 or 4 shades darker than me, but I just wanted to see where his head was at. I said, why are you so dark? And And he went on to explain to me that, his family for generations has lived by the beach.
Mm.
So I kindly told him in Spanish, I said, listen, I know you want to believe that in your heart, but let me explain something to you. You share an island
Mm-hmm.
with a race of people. Do you understand that those are your cousins? I said, not only that, because he started to he actually was like getting a little offended.
Mm-hmm.
I said, my man, you don't have to take a plane, a boat, a train. You could walk.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk to your family's house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what got you believing because your family grew up close by the beach that's why you black. But let's let you know, you black.
Mm-hmm.
And even Dominicans and or Puerto Ricans in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
they hate to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say all of them. I'm just saying they exist.
Well, I understand it. I mean, no one wants to be associated with something that has been vilified for over 400 years. And when you look at the economic change, you look at education, you see TV, some black guy breaking it. Everybody, the black man is the boogeyman. The black woman is like, the darker it seems like it's just, and so people have this. In a sense, I feel bad for people who hate themselves because I'm thinking about this scene in this movie where I forgot the name. I know Ice Cube was in this movie and Mark Wahlberg, and they were fighting, I think, in the Iraq War, whatever, the Iraq Part 1, first push. And to make a long story short, he was like, people get why people mutilate themselves, try to make their skin lighter, but we can't forget the system that made people crazy. And it makes people like, I hate I don't want to be in this skin. I don't want to look the way that I look. I don't want my nose to look so broad. People are paying a lot of money to try to look like something else. I mean, I feel bad. Little Kim was so cute. And it's like, look at her now. It's like,
don't talk about her.
But when you
Oh,
think
Chinese
about
lady.
that, yeah, it's like that psychosis that's going on. And I bet you a lot of people, if they had the money, they would be looking like an old Chinese lady too. But because everything it's obvious and it's apparent that there is a hatred for our blackness and a hatred for who we are. And it's only the ones that's strong that love who we are say, no, we don't. We great. We make everything flavorful. We make everything beautiful. But the pain of racism is deep. It's painful for people. Can you imagine a little young girl telling you black and you ugly and things like that? That's gonna happen. I've heard some people say some things to children, and it's like, I wish you'd rather beat them. At least they can heal from that. But the words that you use, they will never ever forget.
The mental abuse.
And it's just like it comes from this history of pain of being in a white supremacist country, like America. And it's not only just because it's global, has a global, implications. That's why I think that this country is going to have really hell to play when it goes back to that point of blood, because what they have done to people psychologically is dreadful. That people are walking around right now today in 2020 hating themselves.
Yes, sir.
So when you come up with ideas that are pro-black, they hate you for that. When you talk about freedom, they even hate you like them. They're just so hardwired to, hating themselves and loving their oppressor.
Government officials do not spend millions and millions and millions of dollars for think tanks to understand what mind control is about and conducting experiments secretly for years and years and years. And this isn't a secret. This isn't some like,
right.
These guys don't know what they talk
about. Not a conspiracy theory.
It's
a
not
conspiracy fact.
and this is I'm gonna bring this point up and tell me if I'm crazy. A child of the 70s, and this all relates to government and what's going on in this election and everything. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the bigger picture. So in this, being a child of the 70s, my mom used to take me to the movies, and my memory is of that time is locked in. So I remember going to see Car Wash. I remember going to see The Exorcist. I was the first son, so my mom took me everywhere. I was spoiled to a degree.
Right.
Now, the one thing I could always remember growing up, especially in TV and media, because I didn't, I might have liked the Brady Bunch, but Good Times was my shit. It was just more real to me, right? But the one thing that I always understood back then was the constant echo of the conspiracy of the man, right? And how the man was doing X, Y, and Z to us, and how the man was going to try to emasculate us, and how the man, right? But in the other community, that was the running joke. Oh, the man's holding you down. Oh, the man, stop telling that story. It's you. It's you. Here we are in 2020. And who are the biggest conspiracy believing motherfuckers on the planet right now? They believe that JFK Jr. is alive, and they believe that this fucking bozo of a man is somehow fighting for them, and they believe because she wore this hat and her first name begins with the letter W and she was born on the third day, that they the biggest conspiracy believing numbskulls that I've ever seen, and it makes no. You've never had anybody out to get you. Would you stop the bullshit? Where the fuck did you? How did these people become convinced that there's a system after them, one, and two, that somebody who is wealthy, who has nothing in common with them whatsoever, you're not eat. He would not eat lunch in the same place you would. How do you feel like this motherfucker cares about you? He's never, his entire life, he's demonstrated to you, I care about money and women and doing me and living with gold appliances and marrying non-English speaking accent broads, mail order brides. And I ain't being faithful to nobody, so the hell with your Christianity.
Right.
How did you fall for the okie doke? Explain that. Like that shit just does not make sense to me.
I don't think they're falling for like the okie doke. I think he speaks to, I think he permits them to be the racist that they are. I think it's not so much a love of Trump, but a love of them wanting to, for so long, tired of, I can't say the N word, and this. They feel like they've been oppressed for the last 20 or 30 years, that they can't act out in the ways that they've seen their grandparents and their parents act out towards black people. So he's like a breath of fresh air. He's like, oh, it's okay. We can act like this now. We can say this. So much so that, they don't care if a camera's rolling. I mean, the guy killed the guy, his hands, the camera was right there, and he was like, he has his hand in his pocket. Like, I was surprised he didn't take out like a donut and start eating. If they feel emboldened, they feel like, okay, it's our time, and because nobody respects black people. No one's afraid of us. They feel like they can do things and get away with it because they've been getting away with it. I think if they took one of us and we took 10 of them, they would get it. Then it would stop. Like, oh, there's no legislation. You don't need anything. They just know that. Wait a minute, somebody's going to take off 10 of our heads just for one. But it's nobody respects us, and no one takes us seriously, and we have to change that. And I think before we even go to change, it has to start here. Our minds are shackled. And, I keep going back to your show, Danette's show, the work that she does. And please don't look at the numbers. What you're doing is incredibly important. Even, it's tough out here. Each one has to teach 10. I don't even like to each one teach one. We got to teach a lot more. And we have to get smarter. We have to become more aggressive. We have to take more of an aggressive posture. And, you're using your platform. We could be talking about sports, or we can be talking about the election and all that. We know that don't matter. We know the sky isn't going to fall tomorrow. We've gotten through a lot worse than Trump, but we know that this is a call to action, that we definitely need to be better organized, and we need to be clear and maintain that clarity on who is our enemy.
Danette, he pointed to something. He said, we know the sky's not going to fall tomorrow. We ain't all going to die. Do you understand, or do you feel that way? Do you feel like the system banks on our resilience? Because forever, our people have always bounced back, and we've always made it through these instances, if you would. And also, I something else he said, uh, the fear factor, right? Um, I've been saying this for a while. You probably read it on my page. When somebody says something like "speak English" or "go back to your country" or "we don't want you here," slap the shit out of them. I really believe. No, not All jokes aside, I really believe if people started putting their hands and feet in these motherfuckers' faces and asses, that we wouldn't have police called on people sitting in the park or having lunch. Like, I mean, you live in a community that I'm super familiar with, and people was about that life and would break you off if you got funny with them. What what do you think and what do you see when it comes to that whole situation? She thinks.
Going back to what you was talking about
Mm-hmm.
uh, with these white people uh, voting for Trump or being extra over the top, with their hatred. A lot of that I think is a lot of white people in America never got over 8 years of Obama.
Nope.
I think that had a major part, to do with them selecting Trump instead of Hillary, uh, because I think that they understood that Trump was a racist, that he wasn't a traditional type of president, and I think that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened here again, because, by him saying he wants to make America great, that's a slogan for when whites were on top and blacks were underneath. You
Outside in the
know?
open.
Yeah. So, they've been greatly emboldened, to come out, question blacks, let me see some ID. What are you doing here?
Mhm.
Same things that was going on during slavery, threaten black men that they'll call the police on them, if they don't produce ID, all of this type of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, you know, to see so many white people come out the box, so to speak, and do that, is shocking for a lot of us, but I think we needed to see it. And I think because that is the reality of the situation, I question uh, whether we will ever, in this country, um, be on equal footing, equal terms, or anything. I almost tend to believe that, the only way that we would even get reparations that are old and due is after a great tragedy, a horrendous tragedy, or a series of tragedies that brought the United States to the place where they could no longer, continue on and had to do something. I don't think that is going to come through negotiations,
Mm.
or change of laws. I don't think it's going to be any of those things because it's not just one law, and it's not just a particular president or a particular couple of, people in Congress or the
Right.
Senate. It requires a greater change, and if the people themselves, particularly the people directly affected, don't see the need, for change on that scale or that proportion, then it's like, who are we talking to when we're talking?
Mm.
Because
Mm.
you can tell the truth and you can speak the truth, and people will say, you know what, that's 100% correct and exact what you said. That is the reality. But as far as, beginning to walk a new walk in this country, you don't even know what that is.
Yep.
Okay. How do you live underneath, white supremacy and all of these other things, but, how do you change how you go about, your day to day? How do you resist, when your very livelihood, is dependent upon you participating within this system? And as long as you're participating in this system or you're employed in some form or fashion, you're still within the within the system itself. You know, you want to tell your people, you know, to come out, to come away, let's get our own. How? You know, because it takes financing. Where? You know, you still here in America. You understand? So, but these are things that we say should be done, but the reality is how? You know, how can it be done? You know, and you know, are we going to put our money where our mouth is when we don't even trust each other as far as we can see each other? You know, we got issues, so many issues to overcome to even begin to establish something that's truly for us and by us. And then even when we do, if it's here in this country, we still got a problem because it don't come with no military sufficient to really protect us. And we've seen examples where our people have gotten together to be self-sustaining, you know, and they were attacked, they were dismantled, they were infiltrated. You know, the issue, you know, is never been America doesn't believe that we can do it for ourselves. We've done for ourselves every time we try to do for ourselves. They don't want it. They want us to be dependent upon them so they can say, fuck you. They do. They do. They just want to keep you just there in oblivion. You know, that's it. You know, not progressing. Just, you know, to look at you. Because I guess, you know, by us being here, it's something that they have to still make them feel like, well, we're on top. You know, because I see you and I can pretend that I'm more than I really am. I can pretend that I'm superior. Okay, because I see these black faces. So, you know, what would they do if there were no black people in America? They say that's what they want, but I don't believe them. You know, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we're gonna go through some things in this country. Okay, everybody know it. Everybody know it for years. We've been saying it because that's the way that things have been going. And there's nothing, or you tell me what the thing is going to interrupt that. And now everything is going to be lovely. It's going to be a utopia. There's going to be fair treating. We're gonna live together. Everything is going to be even killed. No hatred, no racism. We economically even. Just all of this. How does that happen? How? It ain't going to happen. Certainly not with the measures that the people have been taking, not with the measures that the government has fraudulently been taking. It's going to come through blood. It's going to come through lots. To the degree where it's such a damn crime and a shame. You can no longer justify it. You cannot sweep it off. You cannot. The world, you know, itself would be like, enough of this shit right here. Just freaking enough of this. Pay these people what you owe them, and let them be on their way. Okay, I believe it's gonna rise to that level because we ourselves, we will not discipline ourselves and commit, you know, to the survival of our people because we're too vested in America. Okay, we cannot even imagine our own existence outside the auspices of America.
Stockholm syndrome.
Okay, that's not reality. That's not our reality. It's not one we know, you know, and if we can't see it in advance, we're not moving. You know, you can't, everybody say, yeah, that sounds good. All right. But, you know, if you can't see it in here and you're not really feeling it, you're not going to work towards that. You're going to keep doing whatever the hell it is you do and let them talk that shit that they've been talking. Because a lot of us feel like we've been hearing that forever and a day. Ain't shit changed. You know, like we've been hearing, you know, when we kill one of theirs, it'll stop. A nigga ain't shot a bullet yet. Okay. So I'm saying it's repetitious. You know, and we on pause, and these motherfuckers ain't stopped yet. They steadily escalating the assaults against us, and we sitting here like just shaking our head, doing the same shit, doing this. So you almost can't blame some of us when they be like, "I'm not fucking with none of y'all." Because ain't none of y'all about that life. Ain't none of y'all trying to do none of this shit y'all say that need to be done. Y'all niggas is just talking to hear yourself talk. Okay, you want to philosophize and then textualize over our being destroyed. Okay, damn that. I'm going to get this paper. That's what I'm going to do. And when I come back, y'all niggas will still be here saying the same shit. So what you want from me?
I've been waiting for this Jeanette to come out all night because I knew it was coming. I could see it bubbling.
I be trying to chill because I'm tired. I'm like, listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
How many times you gonna say the same things? Oh, and even when you say it and you hear it and you know that's the honest goodness truth. Okay, then what? There's no place in this country, for truth. Okay, It does not even allow you to live and exist and walk in the truth that you know because it's wicked and it's corrupt. Okay, you go on your job. You are an upstanding man. You got morals. You got integrity. You believe in doing what's right. And you work in a factory, and them damn eggs is rotten. Okay, you would like to throw it away because you know it's going to somebody's home. Probably got kids, and the kids gonna be sick. But your boss tell you send them on the truck. What you gonna do? You gonna send them on the truck because you need your job. This shit like this that individual people go through each and every day where they have to make choices. Nobody might even know that you're making it, but you have to make choices on if you're going to do the right thing or you're going to do the wrong thing, and it affects other people. How is that not being a slave? When you don't have the withal to stand on your truth, to stand on your point each and every hour of each and every day. This country is wicked. It makes you conform to the bullshit that's out there. You know why? Because if you don't look like a certain thing, you can't even get into the door to achieve some of your own personal aspirations because you don't look like what that's supposed to look like. Okay, so you're being required, repeat each and every day to be something that you're not, to show up as something that you're not, and you half of us, the real us done died a long time ago. That's why we don't feel the way we feel. You can't afford to feel these days. So your feelings will get you in trouble. And what you gonna do with that? Is a law for that? Is a principle for that? I'm gonna reach back in my ancient history heritage and find something to help me with this right here. I don't think so. That's why I say, although I know Tylon is an atheist, whatever. Listen. I don't know how other people get down and what helped them, but that's what I am a woman of faith. Yes, I will curse your ass out, but my religion is not that stuff that they talking about there, and I'm not into man-made doctrines and teachings and things like that. I'm into spirit, the creator who made me and everything that I see, and I feel like if we are a creation created by a creator, how is it that we continually, consistently make attempts to save ourselves and we never include the creator, whomsoever you believe her or she to be? It's always of yourself, from yourself. But when you look at yourself, you fucked up just like everybody else. You got issues. Okay, so why we don't never go there? Why we don't never? I come from a people that, we murdered on video, we being gentrified. Look at our history. Men castrated, lynched, hung from trees, women raped. Any people in their right mind, you calling on somebody somewhere. We here in America, we going through all of this stuff, and we don't, not legitimately, even when we have we're going to have prayer, minister so-and-so, reverend so, it's bullshit. It's showtime. Okay, it's bullshit. Okay, it's stage production. It's bullshit. It ain't really, you understand? And I'm like, if you ain't feeling your people's pain to that degree, then I don't know what you're talking about. Because when it means something to you, if a tragedy hits your life, God forbid, a loved one die, or you see something, first thing out your mouth, oh God. But you're not religious. You don't practice no teaching. Okay, so something in you does acknowledge the existence of a God. But here we are in these situations and circle. Listen, the elections for me, it told it for everybody who cared to see. You are Black. You are an enslaved people, a disregarded, neglected people, hated all over the world. You're in the middle, of an election like no other. The whole world is watching, and your options to choose is this clown, this joker, this child molester. He's everything in a book that you could, despise and hate. Okay. And then there's this other person, the president, who locked up thousands and thousands of your men. Okay. And then the vice president that they picked, she locked up thousands and thousands of your men and your mothers too. Okay. And Black America, they want your vote. Here you are in bondage. Period. And these people are responsible for locking up your men and women and a whole host of other things. And they are telling you that you have no choice. And you begin to mimic out of your own. We have no choice. We have no other alternative. You don't understand. You don't see the sickness of that, the craziness of that. That people, a handful of people said, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that." Y'all do what the hell y'all want to do. Okay, my ancestors wasn't murdered for that bullshit right there. Okay, and if I have to sink to that degree to where that's what I have to vote for to hopefully do something for me, that's bullshit all day long. So these are the people that we trying to talk to. Okay, talking about let's come together, let's unite. No, bitch, I don't want to unite with none of y'all. No.
She's speaking to the spirit.
You ain't here. You're gonna be a liability to me with the shit I want to do because your mind ain't right.
Mr. Net is speaking to the spirit of America because if you listen carefully to her comments, she is delivering the package. America is a business. It's a corporation. And when they want you to get on board and have you put them shackles on yourself by picking between two people that do not serve you, they package and market it to you, right? And she's pointing to Kamala Harris, right? She's pointing to Joe Biden, right? And it's as plain as day. And this was the same situation we found ourselves in after we got rocked to sleep with those 8 years of Obama. And a lot of people that I admire, right, favorably, Dr. Cornel West, he was getting at Obama's neck. And a lot of people did not like that, right? But even more so, we collectively as people, and I've been saying this, across the spectrum, this coronavirus or whatever it is shouldn't have locked this country down. It shouldn't have. What should have happened was the people should have rose up and got in the street and said, you know what? We're going to unfold our lawn chairs. We're going to sit the fuck down and ain't shit moving until all you corrupt motherfuckers get out of office. Not we waiting for an election. Not we waiting for your term to expire. No, now. You've been put on notice.
We should have did that when they had 20 of those wannabe candidates get up there and try to mouth reparations, their brand of what they thought reparations consist of. We should have revolted then. It's like, who the hell really? That's what you think reparations is? Really? We, as a people, we're on the bottom economically. We be gentrified state after state. We're being murdered on video, and it takes thousands to get up there to ask for a simple arrest. That's where we at. As far as I'm concerned, Black people, we should have been at the top of the agenda for those who are looking for our vote. How the fuck you get to tell me because you need to unseat a motherfucker in the office that I got to take my vote and place it squarely on that? That's my only bet. Get him out. Okay, so you can't talk and chew gum at the same time? Okay, so what, you get elected? What if you don't? We still got shit we got to deal with. You know, there should have been some tangibles with that. You know, something right now. How the hell you tell me wait until after you get in office? What? Wait, what? Wait, what? Why? Why? You're running around and you're talking to everybody else, talking about what you're going to do. Why, when it comes to black people, we got to wait? Wait, what? You want my vote, right? Wait, what? Okay, Trump is your problem. You bitch ass Democrats, y'all motherfuckers want to get back in Washington. Our people going to be right here in America going through the same shit we going through. So what's in it for us? What we get for that vote? What? You know, but we bit the bait. We took it. We went for it. So how do a handful of activists, militant people contend with that? Okay, when they got the bigger mouths, okay, they can put their spiel out there to the people quicker and faster than we can. And sadly, the people trust and believe what they say. Okay, we just, you know, they not checking for us like that. You know, they're listening to them. They're being guided and directed by them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no remedy for that. I don't. Listen, you know, I spent years and years, sign my petition, share my petition, sign my petition.
Yep.
No, and you've seen the murders. You've seen the murders. You've seen it on video. Okay, Breonna Taylor case, that case right there, it told us that, listen, I cannot make it clear enough. That district attorney had the whole nation waiting 4, 5, 6 weeks. Talking about he's looking into the murder. He's going to try to get an indictment. And at the end of the day, not one shred of evidence did he present to the grand. He should have got his ass whooped right there for faking stuff like that. He should have.
I'm in agreement.
He should have. Okay, what happened? No, the FBI is still investigating. We say too much shit in this country. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what to do with you. I don't know what to tell you. They telling you. They showing you. It's in your face. And ain't shit changed. You still sitting up there. We need another law. We need new reform. We gotta vote him out as if him is the problem. It's bigger than that. So listen, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna go through some things in this country. We're gonna go. You know what? If there is a God, he done showed you so many different times and so many different ways. Look at your situation. Look at your circumstances, you know, and you still keep cleaving to the oppressor, the very people who's trying to destroy you. Okay, not once do you turn at least inward, you know, within your own self. You know why? Because there's the truth. Okay, when you see a young man murdered by police and that thing that rise up is in you, what you want to do, there's the truth. You know what to do. We run around talking about, oh, what we gonna do? No, bitch, you know what to do. You just ain't gonna do it because the law says it's not legal, or because there's gonna be some repercussions behind you responding to that in a way that everything in you says you should. So you fall back, bitches. You scared. You're not gonna make those moves. You want somebody else to do it. Come save you. I remember the years when people was on social media. Well, where's the gangbangers at? They don't mind shooting each other. You know, we need to get them against these cops. I wish I was a gang member. I would have said, fuck all y'all with that bullshit because y'all the same ones that got the cops in our community in the first place. Oh, too much gang violence. They got y'all to get out there and protest. We need stronger laws against illegal guns. We need longer sentences. And they said, yup, you sure do. And came in there and got all your kids. Now they locked up in jail. All of them on bullshit charges. Stuff they didn't even do. Made the cop a plea because you thought that they was actually going to help you. You thought that they actually gave a damn about the shit going on in your community. You ain't learned. You ain't learned. You keep appealing to them to help you in their shit. When they come with stuff to help you, you need to watch out because they're never helping you. It's never for your good. It's never going to be for you. You got to do that shit yourself. And where you won't do it, you need to fall on your face and you need to appeal to your creator. He not white. He black like you.
Yo,
Well,
there,
I
there
don't know.
there is so much in that onion she just put on the table with the layers to peel back, and y- the foundational uh beginnings of gangs, right? And where gangs really started and why they started, right? In our communities and what they really used to do. And then there's the creation of laws and, come help us. And the devil's is always in the details,
Mm.
right? And then the innate feeling of what a person and the emotion that you will get when you see the murder porn or if you see something happening to somebody that in your heart of hearts is wrong and you should be acting upon it. That truth. And then speaking to, oh, well, if I do something, it's against the law. Well, shit. Owning people used to be legal.
And the
Us
murder
now,
that you just witnessed was against the law.
hello, hello, right? There's so much that she put on the table with that. And if people were to just listen and act as much as they listen and turn away from things, because people hate the truth. I don't care who it is, especially today. Lies are more entertaining than the truth. And as soon as you start coming at somebody with truth, man, get out of here, man. You trying to kick that knowledge? I don't want to hear that shit. Why? Because we're conditioned lab rats. They only train us enough to walk through the maze so we could find the cheese. That's it. And nowadays, when they want the rats to start going crazy, all they got to do is hit enter.
Mm.
They write some shit, hit enter, everybody starts wilding out. Right? When the president began up 2, 3 in the morning, he'd be tweeting or whatever, and people, oh, did you see what he said? Who gives a fuck about what he said? That shit ain't moving me. That shit is not moving me. It's not changing nothing. And even more so with this election right now, people are so incensed about getting Trump out. Hell yeah, you know what? I don't want it. For me, I don't want to hear his bullshit no more. I don't. Right? I don't want it to be sucking up the air in the room. That's the first part. The second part is I need these people that are off their rocker to get back on their medication because it's gotten too far. You can't even have a conversation with a person constructively. Like you just pointed to. You stated that that Thailand doesn't follow any faith or religion, right? Thailand doesn't look offended by that because we're adults. We can have these discussions and disagree and not become incensed and angered because you don't agree with me. And that is a huge part of the problem today because this moment in time is coupled with who we are in genetically in this country. This country is a racist place. I don't give a damn how many times they try to say this is a Christian nation. It damn sure is not. Because we kill and jail and do all sorts of wicked shit from here to South America to Europe to, the Muslim nations and all the way around. Oh, Venezuela, and, look how they treat their people. Why haven't we invaded Venezuela to free their people? Why? Because it ain't serving no interest. Why haven't we bombed the shit out of China? They snatch people off the street to take their organs in China. Why haven't we bombed the shit out of China to free their people? We so for democracy. I mean, give me a break. But again, that whole onion that you just laid out, it speaks to the condition of the country. People know it's wrong. People can feel it innately within themselves. People respond correctly out their mouths. Man, that's some bullshit. I'm tired of this shit.
And then
But that-
sit for an investigation to tell them what happened. No, you know what happened.
You saw it. You saw it. And you mentioned the Breonna Taylor case. I take special umbrage with that situation because I actually took the time to go read the documents of the investigation because there's this bozo that does videos who's an ex-police officer. He's black and he's a Trump guy. And he has these young people really tripping out here, right? But he's cashing out. He's like Candace Owens. But in any event, I went to his website, read the documents, and they murdered that young lady. And even more so, they are not happy that they didn't get to murder her boyfriend. They are not happy about that. If there's anything that they could wish for, it would be that he caught some bullets and died too. That man was a law-abiding, working citizen. He's a legal gun owner. And not only that, he obtained a carry conceal permit, which means I could carry a gun on my person while I'm in the streets hidden. You wouldn't know it. And you know, as a person of color, to obtain something like that, man, they look in your booty hole. They want to know everything, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's two laws that are in Kentucky that are on the books. There's stand your ground, that's one. And two, the Castle Doctrine. Stand your ground, I'm sure we all understand what that means. But the Castle Doctrine is, if I'm in my home and I don't know who you are and you trying to come through my door, I could kill you. And it's all good. They charged him with attempted murder, and then they made that disappear. So where are all the gun rights activists and the NRA and all these conservative motherfuckers to defend this legal, law-abiding black man who was defending himself against intruders, essentially, because he didn't know who the hell they were? But they quiet.
Why is mainstream media not questioning or hiding the fact that they went to Breonna's house looking for a drug suspect who was already in police custody at the time that they murdered Breonna?
Oh, that story done changed so many times.
Okay, it's like, how you do that?
You know what she was guilty of? She was guilty of holding her ex-man's money. That's it. And talking about some of the people that he was working with. Essentially nothing. So they never observed her doing hand-to-hands. They never observed her transporting. Like, oh, I know she has drugs. I'm going to stop and pull over. She got 20 ounces of crack on her. Never observed any of that. All they had was conversations. That's it.
And none of that was justification for them to get a no-knock warrant. Because in order to get a no-knock warrant, you have to show evidence that there's been drug activities, there's been money there, or the suspects have been known to flee. Right. None of that. There was none of that.
My thing is also, too, whenever there's a shooting, there's always this background. And they almost kind of get the background in less than a minute on a person and, what they did and how, she skipped school when she was in kindergarten. She missed 7 days. We talked to her kindergarten teacher. Mm-hmm. She talked back, and they go all the way back. And we don't know the history of these police officers. But I think my feeling is, I don't care if she was a drug dealer. I don't care if she was the person. She didn't have a weapon. She's in bed, and you blew her brains out. She's gone. She didn't deserve to die. I'm telling you, that's sort of part of the conditioning that we have as black people in this country. I remember when I was with a friend of mine in junior high school, and we told his mom, yo, the cops just stopped us, and they wanted to put us in the lineup. And she was like, so what y'all was doing? I was like, wait, what? What did you just get what we told you? I think it's a condition. We got to understand that the conditioning that has happened as a result of 400 years of oppression, fast forward today, have us thinking in the way that we're thinking and behaving in the way that we're behaving. It's not happenstance. It's not like, oh, it's just something wrong with us. That's, you're blaming the victim in a sense. I'm surprised that we're not wilding out. That, to me, that's what's crazy is that, it's like James Baldwin said, you show me a black man who's not angry today, I'll show you a black man who's in need of serious psychological help. It's normal for us to be enraged and sent. I mean, of all this oppression and living the way that we do. We have to understand that it's going to manifest itself in all these kinds of ways that might seem a little, may put some of us off. But those are the people who are really feeling this deeply and understand the reality of what's going on. But I don't despair. I'm a little different. I think what I'm seeing is a lot of cause to be not only hopeful, and this is the atheist of the group talking about hope, right? When I'm evidence-based, I'm always submitting ideas and thoughts and conversations to logic and reason. How logical is that? How reasonable is this? And when I'm starting to see how people are responding, how people do have anxiety, and I see how the machine is manipulating that. What I'm most hopeful about is technology and access, and seeing that we have now, forums such as this. I mean, don't devalue the conversation. Don't devalue even what we're doing here and its impact. It's like Fred Hampton said, you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. And I think truth has a way of resonating with people in such a way that if we just continue to keep at it and we're consistent, although yes, they do have the loud microphones, yes, they do have millions of dollars and and all these things. I think we have the most important thing. The most important thing in all of this is we have the truth. We know what is true and we know what is right, and we got to rock with that. And we got to understand that this is a 400-year elephant. This didn't just happen. It's not just like this is happening now. All of a sudden, a shot. While we were just getting free, they were planning, even when they gave us freedom, so-called this root of freedom, they were planning to get us back at the plantation before our beds even got cold. With the Jim Crow, all these laws and stuff like that. So they have an advantage with all this trigonometry. That's why they took over the education. That's why they took over the Black Panthers Party's food program. They said, wait a minute, they did analysis on the Million Man March. How did they happen? How did they organize? And that's when they destroyed Black radio. That's when they destroyed all these mechanisms where we can reach and communicate. And then they said, well, how are they so organized? They started looking at the church, and they started the FBI, faith-based initiative. And they started going to the church and said, let's take over that. And now all the churches is talking about how to get money, how to get paid, how you're going to get your blessings and tithes. And we need a helicopter wing. We need this. We need that. We need more soda machines. We need, and churches, as from that was a major hub for us to organize and to rebel and stuff like that. So they strategically, I'm telling you, they're working overtime. Were we trying to be included and be their friend and get invited to the parties and trying to get stuff and becoming comfort corrupt? They're seizing on this opportunity to get ahead of what is going to happen anyway. They can't escape what is coming, and it's the sins of the so-called the sins of the father. What comes around goes around. You're done, and you're about to be done. And so, I honestly believe that we're not the only ones. I connected to Danette. There's other people that I see their shows, and they're saying similar things, and I don't know these people. How's that? How is it that we're not talking? I'm not on the phone because people are seeing it. There is an awakening that is happening, and we're at the cusp of it. And I see no cause of despair. I think we have to get ready and we have to get organized. Not organized in the old way, where it's this vertical movement, you chop off the head and it falls apart. But empowering people to recognize that, no, you are a leader. You do have the ability. If there's no organization, then start one. Have this mentality of starting where you are, use what you have, do what you can, and realize that you're enough. We keep thinking that we're not enough. We keep waiting on somebody else to do something. And to me, that's the problem with religion. That's why it comes, and that's why we have all these churches and the poorest communities, because they're part of the problem. They become crutches in the Black community. I would do away with all of it. You got the Chinese restaurant, the liquor store, and churches. and the hood looks bombed out. And it's that way because they prey upon the angst, the misery, the despair that's happening in our Black community, and offer them nothing. They take all that money out of our community, all the resources, and they get something for a handful of their friends and their other people. So what I'm saying is that although it may not seem like we don't have the numbers and stuff, the numbers is that a lot of people know BS when they hear it. They might not be able to articulate it. Even young people, they would say that don't sound right. That's not real. Keep it real with me, whatever. It's in their dialogue. It's the way that they communicate with each other in such a way that they know when somebody's being authentic. Real recognizes real. We continue to stay real. We're gonna reach some people, and we might not have to have all these numbers, and we got this romanticized way like it's the 60s. We're gonna be on a rooftop. We're gonna shoot the pigs. It's gonna be a shootout. We don't even have to do all that. We could just take over what is going to be here for us anyway. We just move the guy over, go like a coup. That's what I really think is going to happen. It's going to be such a massive awakening that people realize that it's just a handful of these people that is making all of these people's lives miserable. Let's get rid of these people. And that's all that it takes. It takes for this awakening to reach the point of what do you call it? Not the precipice. The inflection. There has to be like this inflection that happens when people are saying, you know what, I'm over in this space. And jacked up stuff is happening. I'm a teacher and jacked up stuff is happening. I'm a police officer and jacked up stuff is happening. And for those people that are in their space to have this revolutionary consciousness that we're talking about, that no, you are the change. You do what you got to do right there. That's why America's afraid of cells. That's the biggest thing. Terrorist cells, because you can't control that. But once you have this organization where everybody is, you just send in your COINTELPRO person in there and you could destroy that organization. But remember, if everybody has a certain mindset because they got this information, when you know better, you do better. And you think about certain things, you say, wait a minute, that ain't cool. I'm not going to do that. No, you just got to do it because we got to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And in fact, I'm going to tell on you. That kind of thing don't happen because, like I said, it's the social conditioning that we have to push back on and tell people it's not only cool to be black, but you're dope because you're black. You're magic, and you got magic inside you. We need to put out those ideas. We need to transmit ideas of what does it look like, Danette and Mr. A reality without white supremacy. There's no vision of that. You see a movie all about our misery and pain, and so we don't even have in our mindset what we even fighting for. We're going to be free. What does your freedom look like? What do you have? What do you own? What are you doing from day to day? We have to put those images out to people and say, and ask the young people, what is going to make you feel whole? What is going to make you feel happy? What should you be doing now instead of, working 6 days a week for only 24 hours of relaxation? So it's also about transmitting the alternative image and making room for other people to insert what their beautiful image of a real free people would be like.
So what is being spoken to here and sort of brought to the table is an understanding of there has to be a collective, one, and two, there also has to be a sound image of what we perceive to be freedom, right? And what we want our world to be and look like going forward. And we're dealing with we're dealing with a small group of people, right? I have a dear friend of mine who I just want to salute, 10474, I see you. He is an intelligent, masterful person when it comes to the bigger picture. And there's so many different elements and understandings that he speaks to in conversations that I've had with him. He sees this big picture that is America, right? And all these institutions that it has to have us inside this scientific experiment, if you would, right? When people hear him speak, it goes over their head or they refuse to look at it. Because again, like I said, the lies are more entertaining than the truth. But I bring him up to say that people can't get beyond their own conditioned responses and understandings of what they see and what they're being fed. And that's the problem, right?
Yeah,
we collectively have to continue to speak about these issues, right? And what the problems are. Because until that starts happening and it becomes infectious, like this virus, until people start grasping onto this and digesting it and saying, yeah, you know what? Why is it that, this small community of people hold all the purse strings and control everything? And I'm really not in a position to have a happy life. I'm going to work 60, 70 years of my life for 8-year vacation and I'm going to drop dead. I ain't never going to, quote unquote, live. When do we start living, right? When do we start enjoying? And it doesn't have to be that you're living in opulence, because to live is to live, period. I know people, you can see on the net, there's people that are living out of converted vans. They're basically homes on wheels. And you know what they're doing? They're chasing their passion. They're photographers, they're fishermen, they're artists. They're all of these things that they love to be, but they're just not in the grid, right? But when you see them, they're happy as fuck. They are. They're not bogged down by the rat race. They're not infected with the commercialization of the world that we live in. They're not involved in the fucking political spectrum. They are just living. And until we get to a place where we understand that, hey, fuck these people, it's time to take our country and control it and make it what we need it to be, we're going to continue to be on the fucking wheel and running and getting nowhere. And I think that that's the bigger picture for somebody like myself. I do not subscribe to Democrat or Republican. I don't tie myself to no fucking political wagons. I just do not. Because I am a radical at heart. I don't believe in this system. I don't support this system. I don't feed into this system. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't. And at any moment, my existence can be taken away for anything, even for doing this right now. Tomorrow, they could turn around and be like, hey, from now on, you can't speak negatively about the government. You can't protest. You can't nothing. There's laws on the books right now that allow us to do things. Why? That means that they could turn around and, take those things away.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So who am I? Well, forget about who am I. Who are we? What are we doing? And is it enough or is it anything? Is it making any sort of stride or any sort of space for us to be successful or to be left to live our lives in peace? And the answer is no. We're just not. And with this discussion, as far as you can see, we didn't really discuss the election too much, but we're talking about all of the variables that are important to us as a people.
That's right.
And that in and of itself should tell you, man, something needs to fucking change because we are not happy. We're not. Be it Joe Biden, cancer, or Trump, AIDS, we're not happy. It's just the truth. People. I've gotten into arguments or not discussions with people, and they're like, "Oh, you have to vote. You have to vote. There's the lesser of two evils." And you said it earlier. The lesser of two evils is still evil. So what are we doing? We all know if Trump is gone, what's going to change? Police brutality is going to stop?
Nope.
No. Education going to change? Nope. Like the opportunity, we're going to somehow magically appear on the boards of hedge funds and Fortune 500 companies? No. So, all right. We've been at this for 3 hours, and I can do another 3. However, we are all people of a certain age, and I know we're going to get tired. I ain't got no more Geritol, so I want to give you each a moment to sort of make a closing statement, and then we'll end the show. So, not to be sexist, but Ms. Chavis, I want to give you the floor, and you can express what you feel.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having this. This was very, I'm glad to be here to hear from both of you. You both intelligent men, familiar with the issues, and I love to hear, you discuss it and be here among you as you do. The struggle continues.
Yes, it does. Mr. Washington.
Wow. This has been an incredible experience. I'm also grateful for the gracious invitation to be here. I think both of you are outstanding individuals and outstanding comrades and people that I just love to talk to. And I'm glad we're doing this because it was so conversational. It wasn't like the stuffy talk shows and we have to be all hoity-toity and we can be ourselves, and we need more safe spaces like this where we can speak truth to power and just hit the record button. And who happens to hear us, they hear us. We don't have to have a machine. But I would just like to wrap in saying that we have to do 3 things. We have to defy containment,
yes, sir.
Destroy the illusion, and crush the machine.
Yes, sir.
Defy containment, destroy the illusion, and crush the machine.
Let me say something before you go. There was a point. There was a line that you said about creating safe spaces, and I had an exchange with my daughter yesterday because they were engaged in some sort of discussion about fear and what's going to happen after the election. And I became incensed about it. And here's why. We have to stop walking around like we fucking scared.
Right.
No, I'm like
Sky is falling.
Yeah, I'm as serious as a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I told my daughter yesterday, you know who you are. You know who raised you. And me nor your mother have put you in a position to ever feel or even speak that into the air. You do not say you're fearful. You do not ever tell people how you feeling, especially in this moment. Because you either going to die on your feet or live on your knees. And you know how we raised you. So I would say to everybody who's watching or watch the show or will rewatch this show, stop that bullshit. Okay? We fought people that had guns, and we had spears and bows and arrows and knives and sharpened stones. Okay? We don't come from that. We built way different. And not only that, we fucking resilient as ever. Okay? So I would implore everybody who watches the show, my guests, everybody, we don't do none of that around here. Okay? We are who we are because that's just it. It's been written in stone. And if people don't understand what I mean by that, we'll save that for another time. But just understand, we don't need no fucking space. Wherever we standing, that's our space. And we're going to talk what we talk, and we're going to do what we do, and we don't need nobody to validate it or to greenlight it. So no matter who sits in that house, they could go on and do whatever they're going to do, and we're going to continue to do what we do. So
Exactly.
later for all the fear. But I want to thank you both, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate you both giving me your 2 and 3 hours of time to just sit here and talk and build. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys for coming on. And Ms. Danette, you know how I feel about you. It's been digital for now, but at some point, you know, we will be meeting in person. And I appreciate you introducing me to this brother here, Mr. Tylon. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. I really can't. And I hope to see you. Yeah, I hope to see you guys in the near future. Tylon, you have an open invitation. As I always told Danette, you can come here anytime you want. You reach out, and the platform is yours, because that's what the platform is about, the people. All right.
I'm gonna invite you down to my station or on my show. I have something every Friday. I want you to be a part of that as well.
Ooh, just
we can build. We got to build this thing. We building it.
Yes, definitely.
It's organic. It's just happening naturally.
Exactly. So with that said, good night to you both, and we'll see each other again in the future.
Yes, we will. Take care.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. So people, now you might think to yourself, oh, I thought this was supposed to be about the election. Well, you know what? It is. And if these points went over your head and you're not really understanding the subject matter of what was being spoken to here, then maybe you need to sit with yourself for a minute and think. And think about how this country has treated you, how it's treated your people over time in history. And then once you come to that place of understanding, watch the show again. These people are speaking to the items that are going to affect them and affect us all in some way, shape, or form. And, there's people out there that, they think this is funny or it's a joke. It's whatever. And there's people like you that love this system and love Trump and love all the bullshit that's coming to the table and the surface. They'll get their wake-up call, but, whatever. That's on them. But I just want to say to Tylon and to Ms. Danette, I really appreciate you coming on. You people were very insightful. I love speaking to people who bring different perspectives to the table. I actually did have somebody who was a Trump supporter that was supposed to make an appearance, but I guess he just felt like he just wanted to watch. I find that some people don't feel comfortable speaking when they're outside of their, you know, inclusive company, I guess is the only way I could put it, or you know, people that think like them. But I really don't think that's productive. I think speaking to people with opposing opinions is more productive and different perspectives and understandings. But when you have polar opposites that sit down and talk, that makes for really good conversation, right? Because you can learn. You can learn from anybody. So I think it's more important that we engage with the people that do not agree with us at some point in time, because we need to be able to speak to one another. So for that gentleman, hey, you missed out. I think it would have made for a great conversation. I think I could have garnered some insight into why it is that you feel and believe and think the way that you do, and hopefully vice versa. But you didn't show, so you missed out. But anyway, to everybody who stood on or watched or will rewatch again, this is Mr. A at the set. Tomorrow we're going to be having another show with Miss Jeannie Soul. She's going to be making an appearance tomorrow at 7:30 on the set. Singer, actress Jeannie Soul will be here to share some of her journey, her story, things that happened in the neighborhood over time in the years, her struggle, and what she went through to break into the business that she loves so much. So I hope everybody can be here to join us for that. And then Sunday, we're going to have Mr. James Joyce. James, a.k.a. Squatch Joyce, will be on the set Sunday, November 8th at 7:30 p.m. Hip-hop artist and entertainer. I've posted one of his videos on the page, so if you want to, please check him out. And then Sunday, November 15th at 7:30 p.m., let's talk about cannabis with Chef Swan and Mark Alfinas. Chef Swan of High End Cooking, and Mark Alfinas, who is in the corporate end or corporate side of legal cannabis. And we're going to talk how those two things come together. So, with that being said, good night. Let me just say this. Good night to my cousin and family down in South Florida. My cousin Mello, Titi Maleng, my cousin. I'm going to call him Rigo. My love Chungi down in Miami. And all my little nieces and nephews. And Bidhing and my uncle Toquito. I love all of y'all. Hopefully when this all subsides, I can make my way down there and pay y'all a visit. To my daughter, I love you. My wife, thank you for being so patient and putting up with me and allowing me to shoot the show at home. And to my son, keep doing what you're doing and stay focused, young man. You're going to be all right. But anyway, good night. And I hope everybody will be back with us tomorrow night. And see you soon.